Welcome to WrestleDope. Thank you for joining us here on justin.tv/WrestleDope. And of course, you can also catch us on youtube.com/TheWrestleDope. Every Sunday, two fans talking about wrestling. Our opinions on the current WWE programming, a little bit of Impact Wrestling, and also all those dirt sheet stories.
Indeed. It's been a nice couple of days here in sunny old Ireland. We don't get much of it, but we do appreciate it when we do. And it is a bank holiday for us, folks. Not that we're doing anything particularly amazing, just delivering the goodness to your good selves. So thanks for joining us. It is WrestleDope. We will be here for a couple of hours at least, talking about the wrestling business.
Absolutely, lots to talk about tonight, and of course, firstly, to start with WWE Capitol Punishment. Now, unfortunately, there is so far only one match to talk about, but plenty to speculate what else is going to be on that card, and indeed, what will be the result of that main event, John Cena versus R-Truth. Now this one, if you told us about it maybe 6 months to a year ago, we actually would have agreed, because we actually did see R-Truth as a possible future WWE champion. I think it was mainly because, well, he seemed to fill a spot, if you like. He's a guy that, he was a babyface. It didn't look like you were ever going to see him as a babyface champion. Be a bit of a bigger put over than perhaps he deserves, but this heel thing, is he heel? I mean, he's bad, but it's more delirious than anything.
Yeah, just a little bit lost. If anything, I don't think he knows what's going on, really, as he is talking to himself and walking around the place like he's zoned out of his mind. He's doing a bloody good job with it, I'll say that much. I like him in his heel role. The little Jimmy thing, as we talked about there a while ago, is quite funny, and it's gotten funnier. Unfortunately for Raw this week, with their technical difficulties, they did lose a whole chunk of the goodness. But they got the gist of it across in that replay. So, it's all going good. I don't know if it's his time just yet for that championship. I think they could drag it out a little bit more and get a little bit more zany with it. And for Cena, it's just still questions why he has the belt in the first place, I suppose, for me.
I have to say that R-Truth did turn a corner for me this week. For weeks I was kind of thinking, is he being built up as a serious competitor? But now it's gone so far on the kind of delusional route that it's more like he is, well, just a sort of an insane heel who's become jealous, and almost like you could transition him back fairly quickly to what's up. Like a Cole who went from almost bad to good this week. He's got shades of that heel left. But with R-Truth now, you can see where they're going. And it's 100% on the kind of psychotic route. It's not about being some kind of serious guy who can out-wrestle Cena, if you like. And, you know, I don't feel like they really did do that this week in terms of building him as a legit competitor. But it's all built on that psychology stuff that's been going on with Cena's fans.
I always thought Truth was a bit of a one-trick pony. You know, I never in my wildest dreams would have imagined that he could pull off what he's doing at the moment so well. Unless it's kind of like a Stone Cold, where it's just that real side of him. Well, not so much real side of him, but, you know, he can dig that stuff out, which just goes to show, you know, he's got I won't say colours, that's probably the word, the wrong word, but multi-personalities inside the old noggin upstairs. But, you know, he's tapping into it nicely, and he's delivering the goods. And, you know, even his timing has gotten better on the mic. I think for the first couple of promos, the first ones were a little bit iffy, and him and Jomo talking over each other. Now he kind of knows when to put it in and out, and he says just enough, so it's a good thing.
Of course, he doesn't have music, and that's what we've seen from these last few entrances. The truth will set you free, in his own words, and that's it. You couldn't have him coming out to What's Up. That had to go because it would cause pops. Now, I initially thought the little Jimmy stuff was ridiculous, and I didn't think it was at all funny, but I think it's been the consistency week after week. They haven't dropped it like the fiery red hand of Ireland with Sheamus. It's something they've let keep going, even though it's a little bit corny, but they're tying it in properly now by accosting the fans, and you saw that father soaked during that match, and you know, we saw him earlier on talking to those people, and what a great role for them actually to be part of a huge angle with R-Truth. I bet they probably went backstage and everything else. But the match at Capitol Punishment, WWE Championship, has R-Truth got any chance at all here?
I think he's the kind of fans or the smart fans' favourite to go in and try take Cena out. It's kind of like the old classic when, you put the guy down for years, and we're all guilty of it. You hate him, he sucks, he does nothing, like a Mark Henry. And as soon as you give him something decent with to run with, he's the internet darling, or everybody bangs on about him like he's God's gift. For us, I think that have watched it for so long, and for many of you as well, it's that kind of stuff that makes it entertaining and makes us interested in it. If it was just 100 Cenas coming out doing the same thing each and every week, I don't think we'd have any interest, or we certainly wouldn't be doing a show like this for people like you. So I do like what they're doing with the kids as well, bringing in that kid that R-Truth interacted with, and likewise with the Miz. It's another small touch that hasn't really been tapped into all too much in the past. I think the last one I remember is the DiBiase Virgil basketball deal way back in the day. That still stands the test of time. So it's a good little thing for them to grab onto.
The comedy element here is certainly becoming more prominent. We're seeing a lot more characters that have a less serious take, and I've constantly said it, to me it's felt like the comic book era has come back, and I think that's what we're going to see more and more of year on year. Maybe that's what this decade is all about, taking it back to family friendly fully, because of course last year we had the change over to PG that was so widely talked about, but ultimately this is a new decade now, and last decade they still had the shadows of the past to contend with. Now they've got a whole new slate, if you like, to build lots of colourful comic book characters. Who's to say Savage is a guy that would have maybe triumphed in this era? I mean, he's a guy who needed to be in that comic book era with colours and things like that. And I was going to say, who knows if R-Truth, maybe he'll be the next Slim Jim guy. He could be.
It's very possible. But he's a good worker as well. At the end of the day, sometimes I've overlooked that in the past. He can go. As far as Slim Jim commercials go, I don't know if he's the face for to push that stuff, but he certainly has the zany personality like a Savage.
He certainly does. Now, R-Truth taking on Cena. I'm thinking about what's going to happen in this one, because you probably could see it before you see it. It's almost one of those in-your-house pay-per-views. It's not a big four. Capitol Punishment, to me it's come out of nowhere, and I was shocked when I saw the announcement of the name. I don't really keep up to date with what's coming pay-per-view wise. I think we just take them as they come, and God, we've seen all of them for the past year and a half, and of course watch them live here on justin.tv/WrestleDope. So we're going to be seeing Capitol Punishment in 2 weeks time from when we record this, and of course we're going to be there live talking about it. But what do I expect from this? I think maybe it's kind of interesting, because it's not like they want to bury R-Truth. They certainly have almost forgiven mistakes, and I'd cite a mistake as perhaps that Morrison promo where you had R-Truth beating on John Morrison. That wasn't the best way of getting him over, but they didn't give up after that.
Yeah, well, I think as well these days they're getting away with getting back to the PG thing a little bit. For a while, it got so safe it was almost ridiculous, where everybody was just bashing it, saying it's too safe. Give me TNA, give me Attitude Era, give me ECW. But I'm sure they have a list of do's and don'ts and can and can'ts these days, and between the smoking thing and using words like bastard and stuff like that, they're pushing it. They're still trying to keep us all entertained, and it would be a shame for them to spoil it. I think it would spoil it if R-Truth went over so soon with the belt. I think they can drag it on for quite some time and let people think that there is a big conspiracy against him. And when that Raw did have its technical difficulties, he was quick on it. Truth on Twitter saying it's a big conspiracy. Everybody's out to get me. They're cutting down my promos. That's the smart stuff that he's tapped into. So there's a couple of months in it, I reckon. If anything, I just don't think it would be good for them to put him over so quick.
When they put someone like R-Truth in a position where he's talking about Cena merchandise. Of course, it serves as an advert for him to do that and be backstage and say, oh look, a John Cena cup, a t-shirt, whatever. It gets the merchandise over, but it made me wonder, do they see Truth perhaps as a guy who could be a merchandise seller? Now they've turned him into a heel, but this could be the start of a long build. You never know what they've seen in a guy, and sometimes they just seem to randomly pick up on a guy that maybe you thought wasn't going to go anywhere, and suddenly he gets this continued and unending push. And I'm kind of thinking that maybe this could be the year that the guy gets more and more of these main events. I just don't see it being a situation where he's pulled out. I can see it going for a few months at least. Now the next big pay-per-view, that would be almost SummerSlam, would it?
So we have Money in the Bank in the middle?
I suppose we have Money in the Bank. You could certainly count that, because that's big in a way.
Well, him winning a Money in the Bank match with a briefcase and carrying it around would be quite hilarious. I think that would be a good step, actually.
I'm going to say you may have predicted that earlier. I think that's very, very likely.
It is possible, yeah.
Because he's in a position where he's going to need that consistent push, such as The Miz got. Now, I was shocked when The Miz got that early push. It took me so long to see what was good in him. It's taken me less time to see that in R-Truth, because of course this heel thing is just a few weeks old. It's not like we've seen it forever, and now it's finally beginning to grow on me a little bit. So I do look forward to seeing what's going to happen in that. I think now, and we can talk about these predictions again, but I would say early on that it's probably going to be Cena winning here.
I'm going to say Cena. I'm going to say Cena too.
So what else is going to be on that card? Now, of course, on SmackDown we've seen Christian and Randy Orton locked in a feud since that World Heavyweight Championship loss the night after the pay-per-view on SmackDown. Of course, that controversial moment where Christian lost that belt, and indeed that's how they've ran for a few weeks. Now finally they're inserting a heel into the mix here.
With Christian?
With Sheamus even.
With Sheamus, right. Yeah, Sheamus, you'd forget, how brutal he can be, and how funny the guy can be as well. I don't know if I would like to see him back up on top just yet. I think I like what they're doing with the kind of tease of Christian turning the other way, and him walking out with that belt over his shoulder after that match with him or Orton and Sheamus or whatever on SmackDown. I think heel Christian kind of worked on the other side of the biz there in TNA for quite some time, and he did a great job at it. And turning on his peeps, I think would be quite funny actually.
Have you seen now I think it's fairly new, the Christian branding where you have the C and the H, and it's kind of started appearing now, maybe even just this week, but on the title for SmackDown he's got his own special title, and I always think that that's a mark of someone that they're at least a bit interested in, because as far as I know Yoshi Tatsu doesn't have one.
I wouldn't imagine so.
But on the actual Yoshi thing, not to go too far, SmackDown, because we're going to talk about more Raw, more SmackDown after Capitol Punishment, and indeed Yoshi Tatsu this week, a welcome addition to SmackDown, and finally I'm starting to enjoy seeing the guy in a match with a guy like Jinder Mahal.
Well, as Barry Horowitz once said, someone's got to do the job, and make the guys look good, and they're not going to put somebody who can't make somebody look good in there to make them look good. So I think Yoshi's got the job, or at least has done the job quite well this week on SmackDown.
And better than Funaki?
I haven't seen enough to judge, but I'm sure equally as jobtastic.
That's just a problem, isn't it? Where we haven't seen enough of him. He's been buried on places like Superstars, so it's not like we've had a chance to see him in lots of competitive matches. And of course the pay-per-view situation for that guy, not great either. But overall, like I say, Christian and Orton, that's solid, and it was solid any time that they've ran through that, whether it be on TV or pay-per-view. I found both guys seem to be into this one. Maybe they're, cooperative backstage. I mean, certainly something has to go towards making these matches good, and maybe it's the Orton intention to really impress on SmackDown. Not that he needs to prove anything.
I don't know if whatever way this ends up, if it's a triple threat, if it's Orton Christian, if it's Orton Sheamus, I don't know if it's probably a good idea for Orton to drop the belts just so quickly after that move to SmackDown. He seems to be doing a nice job of being the big face over there and carrying the brand a little bit. I think people would kind of tune in to see him as well, that there's no Taker around, or there's no Edge, or no Michaels, or no Trips. Really, there's only Ray as a big one, isn't there? So I'm sure Orton's kind of holding the fort there for now. It would be stupid for them to take the title off him. That's my guess on it. I was going to say something there about Christian. Yeah, I suppose if Cena does retain and Orton does retain, then that's two kind of face retains with the belts. Again, I don't know if that's going to happen either. So
when you put it like that, it does make sense, and I have to think that if they're going to add something to this, then it, as maybe has been said on the TV, that maybe it's some kind of triple threat. But didn't they do that? Or I'm not certain, but I think that if it involves Sheamus, it would be a positive thing. And it's not that I'm bored of this one, but it does feel like maybe I've seen it. Why, I don't know, but they did run through it on SmackDown. They've kind of, it feels like they've been on a lot, and I don't know what that is, but you know, where were the days where a guy would, why I'm even looking for these back, I don't know, but someone like a Triple H, he'd be off TV and he'd build the angle from home, you know. Somehow he'd call it in, but I kind of want one of them for some reason. Why is a guy always in another guy's face? But I suppose that makes no sense, what I've just said, really. But then it never did.
Oh, that makes sense.
You know, sometimes just to change it up, and I think there's a lot of repeat formula going on. You know, one time there was a hell of a lot of run-ins.
Yeah, I mean, if you were to pay attention to really analyse the structure of any of the programs where somebody's talking, music hits, somebody comes down, somebody's got beef about something. How many years have we watched that happen? Yeah, it's hilarious when you think about the structure of the whole thing and what they have to run with. But we get on with it, I suppose, don't we?
There's probably no angle that we haven't seen yet, unless there's maybe, the only thing I can think of is technology that hasn't been invented yet that could be an angle of some kind. I don't know. But other than that, we probably have seen it all as regards the angles and stuff like that.
I don't think as well, Yoshi will ever get over it with that music. When that hits, you just, the word job just goes through my mind straight away.
Exactly. No, I was thinking that it's too bouncy. What would a heel Yoshi Tatsu?
Some kind of evil, kind of a Mortal Kombat deal or something.
That would work. I mean, they tried Funaki Kung Fu, and it didn't work. It lasted a few weeks. That theme tune even made it onto the CD, the album, the theme tune album. Unbelievable to think it did, but I suppose that was one they wanted to push for some reason. Now on to your comments, and of course you can post your comments in the live Justin.tv chat room. If you're watching on YouTube, then please do comment. We would love to hear from you and know what you think of what we're saying, and indeed we would love to hear from you live as well. As we say, hi to Maddie PN01. The Orton Christian match was a blinder at Over the Limit. I'd agree, actually.
What she say, sir?
He enjoyed that Orton Christian match at Over the Limit.
Oh yeah, Jesus, yeah, it was a good match. Their matches have just been solid, in fairness. So, like you say, they could be good buddies backstage. They might be, helping each other out. But again, Christian is very, very experienced. So, and Orton isn't on top for no reason. Although he's a bit on the snore fest sometimes, isn't he?
Yeah, he did suffer for many months at the end of last year. Whether it's turned around, I don't know. I'm not sure a beard can do that. But it's certainly a good attempt, and seemingly I can see him as heel by the end of the year, though.
Orton?
Yeah, I think they can't.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Maybe heel back on Raw. Maybe this is to get him out of there and keep him fresh on Raw and then come back, maybe.
Maybe by that time somebody else might have, unexpectedly risen to the top. Kofi Kingston, maybe.
Absolutely. Now, Sonic Akuma, it was a credible week for the product. Matty P&O, did you enjoy Raw this week? I didn't really watch SmackDown. Certainly it wasn't a bad show. I think it was overall not too bad.
SmackDown this week?
Raw, mid to average.
Raw was okay. It was okay. It was
Kind
okay.
of repetitive, isn't it?
It was
But
okay. It was okay.
we'll definitely get into
The one
detail.
before last week was great. This week, same with SmackDown. TNA on the other hand, was kicking ass actually, I thought, this week, but
Right.
we'll get to that later on.
Absolutely. Christian and Orton have had 3 matches and they've all been quality. The one on Raw was great as well back in 2005. And Christian turning heel, says 3 count, height 3 count. Great tag team from back, the boy band tag team. If only they do stuff like that. Push the comedy factor.
Who else was in it? Shannon Moore?
That's all. Was it Gregory Helms?
Gregory Helms, wow.
And who else was in that one? I can't remember.
They were a holy show, weren't they?
Yeah, and unfortunately they probably couldn't do it now, but they could do with Justin Bieber, maybe, kind of a... They could get heat for that, actually, probably. Stinger Splash, Orton and Christian are the only 2 top guys on SmackDown. Matty P&O, Orton versus Jericho, potentially at SummerSlam. Wouldn't need to be for the belt, as Jericho would be returning. Now, of course, there was a little bit of talk in Dirt Sheets about that this week. Of course, he is going on that tour, so he's booked up for well past summer at least. I mean, you can see that he's on that lineup for that festival in the UK. So I know people are dreaming of it. I think it will happen, though, by next year at least.
Jericho coming back.
Could it be a few more years?
God knows, the Fozzy thing's rocking out prime time these days, so if he does come back, I think he needs to shape up a little bit for sure, and maybe a little bit of a refresh.
New gimmick, and would it be entering as a babyface? Because when he came back in I think 2007, he was a babyface, and I remember that Raw actually. That was a good moment from that kind of era, if you like. When that guy came back, it felt special, and I would love to see the next return, and hopefully it will be a babyface thing.
It'd be good to see him come back at the Rumble. I think those Rumble returns are always pretty classic.
In to win the Rumble. Again, I'm going to say that that's very, very possible. We should write these things down because you never remember that we actually said
Sounds
this.
so wrong as well.
But you know what?
We called some crazy.
You'd imagine just something about that. You'd think that if he did come back, I mean, they're going to want him maybe ready for WrestleMania.
Be a good spot to get him.
Have him win at Rumble. I'd like to see it.
Mm.
And Matty P&O1 in the chat room. Jericho's just had a tattoo done. Sharpshooter HBH. I just read Jericho's book, Around the World in Spandex. I would recommend it to everyone who hasn't read it. Matty, maybe Orton versus Jericho will be WrestleMania. And Bike Mike, he says Evan Craigs. Was that someone SmackDown needs more main eventers? I can't remember who we were referring to. Evan Karagas? I'm not certain.
Oh, maybe that's the other member of 3 Count.
Oh, see again, I wouldn't have known.
I don't know. I don't know that name.
I don't know the name either, but yeah, 3 Count. Let's go back to 3 Count.
Yeah, it was the 3 Count guy.
If you're going to bring the humour, I'd like
Courageous.
that. Yeah, absolutely. Courageous.
Evan
Courageous was the 3rd guy in 3 Count. So other matches, there's only one, and there's 2 weeks to go.
Hit me.
What else could we have? We've seen and know that it's Cena or R-Truth. We were thinking about Christian, maybe I'm saying Jericho. Christian, Orton, maybe Sheamus thrown in there, but probably just Christian, Orton, maybe something else to do with Sheamus. But what else? I'm trying to think offhand. I'm going to say Cody Rhodes, Daniel Bryan. Do you think that could happen?
Possibly. Who's got the IC title these days? Wade?
Right now, Wade.
They don't care about that, though.
No.
Who's got the US title on the other side?
Is it Kofi?
Is it Kofi?
I
think it is,
yeah. And of course, that leads us on to Raw.
I'm going to say an Alex Riley Miz match. I can see.
Yes, indeed.
That's
Riley
probably
Miz.
going to happen. That's
and
probably going to happen.
that's entirely fresh as well.
It is.
A lot of people said that as well this week, that it's one that they're looking forward to. And
What do you think of his new music that they've got rolling?
Unbelievable, and he actually got the vocals. That's what I was thinking. I mean, it wasn't just that generic Tyson Kidd, which is a good one, but
You always know there's hope from with the vocal.
yeah, he got the vocal. He's just landed on his feet, and is it just talent? Probably that's got him there. I'd say so, because who else could have matched up at the time anyway to The Miz, and he needed someone to mirror him in some way, and I think they're really now backing him by
They
doing
really
this.
did, yeah. They really got behind him. You know, he's good though. He's good. He's doing a good job with it as well. And I think everything we saw on Monday was to be expected. It was just the continuation of the push.
Absolutely.
The other way for him. So
We've got other talk of matches in the room. People talking about what they think they're going to see on this Capitol Punishment pay-per-view, and talk of Rhodes and DiBiase versus Danielson and Sin Cara. Of course, that's what we were looking at in these past few weeks, various combinations of these two. And with DiBiase, something you said a while back, it struck me, the theme tune that he's got now. At the time, I can remember you saying Maurice is going to be long gone and he's still going to be stuck with that thing, and you were right. Maurice is nowhere near him now. He's on SmackDown. He's still got that theme tune.
it's unfortunate. He's just lost in no man's land. But probably what's going to happen next is out of nowhere you'll get that strong push and he'll just go right up there, just like a Truth and just like an Alex Riley. They'll find a spot for him. I think he's just lost in no man's land with nobody solid to feud with for no reason. It comes back to that why should we care thing, because there's nobody for him to for us to care about him with. That's what I'm trying to say.
Exactly. Now joining us in the room, we've got 3 Count, Dashing Doctor, Fugazi, Matty. Phil is in there. Hello to Phil. Sharpshooter, Shockmaster, and also Boy Mike, Miker, Sonic Akuma. We've got Mac Attack as well, and some other people not signed in. So thanks for joining us live on justin.tv/WrestleDope. Also, if you're listening on iTunes, of course, that's up there every week now, and you can make sure to download that if you don't want to catch it live or also on the video. You've got that option as well. So let's I think that's about it really. I mean, speculating about other stuff, that's all that stands out to me regarding Capitol Punishment for the moment anyway. I can't think of anything else offhand, but you could always predict divas, and I reckon maybe Kelly Bree again, or
Could happen.
Tag
Things
Eve.
have gotten so messy with everything now. Joe Mo's out, Layla's out, McCool's gone. It's hard for most of those people who are normally on the pay-per-views to fill the spaces. I mean, look at the last pay-per-view where you had Chavo. I suppose Sin Cara could probably, I'm sure he'll have to show face up there somewhere doing something crazy. He's nuts, that guy, isn't he, really? What was he up to this week? He was running in doing some crazy. He came running down for a beat down there with somebody, didn't he? He's nuts, that guy, whatever his game is. Apparently he's got a translator that goes around him because he can't speak the lingo.
They were scraping the barrel with Sin Cara Chavo. I know they needed to do something and they needed someone to match up to him, but it felt TV, and I did think at the time, why bother? But I can't remember a thing about it. That's what I will say. I think it's that entire pay-per-view which seemingly is just evaporated. I can't remember what happened. I didn't watch it again. It just went by me. Now I hope Capitol Punishment isn't like that, because there was a trend for the smaller pay-per-views. I think we kind of concluded, but they were getting stronger, and at times you kind of felt more like you enjoyed a show after one of maybe a Money in the Bank or Over the Limit, maybe not, but one of those, better than perhaps a WrestleMania. It seems unbelievable, but I think it's your expectation level and what you kind of think is going to happen on the night, and whether it's going to be good or bad, etc. But of course, to talk about Raw, now I want to go right back to R-Truth, not to rewind if you like, but just to talk about in general what happened this week. And like I said, I'm enjoying the little Jimmy stuff, but it leads me on to Michael Cole. Now, where is he? Because he's kind of halfway, I felt like, between babyface and heel. where he's talking to Lawler now, and he's almost back to the old attitude. You kind of feel like he's gone back to babyface, but then that interview with Alex Riley then to kind of prove me wrong in a way.
It was always going to be tough. It was always going to be tough for them to go back and tone him down to the old, well, not so much old, but Cole of recent years after how far they took it. I mean, they went nuts with him between the coal mine and, you know, him just going bonkers on every show, every week for how long? Forever, it seemed like. So, of course, it's going to be tough for him to bring him back down to where he is now. But I think, you know, it'll probably just be a case of one, I think last week we said he'll probably snap at any time and go nuts again, or two, the transition slowly back to just being the old Cole, tone it down week by week. It's one of the two, really, isn't it?
I think so. I loved the old Cole, that tone where the commentary isn't affecting what's going on screen. It's not stopping you from concentrating on what exactly you're seeing. I felt like he distracted for months, whatever it was, of matches that just sort of went by me because I was being worked, and maybe that was all the purpose, make us not concentrate on what perhaps they saw as a bad match. Maybe you might have even think that when it was Eve Torres Divas matches, and they kind of thought, well, this is no good, we're actually going to push Cole in this segment, maybe.
Yeah.
And I can see the logic behind it. I was worked, heavily worked, actually.
They're a good team at the moment there on Raw, actually. All three, they're doing a really good job.
I'm glad to see him back, and hopefully, like I say, this kind of Alex Riley promo cut thing, okay, roll it out now and again, because it is a kind of a massive change to have him go, well, I'm out of the coal mine now, I'm not going to be aggressive, I'm just going to be the announcer. And I wondered how they were going to do it. Well, the answer is they just do it, really. And they don't.
Yeah, it's true. I suppose once he doesn't have any beef with Jerry Lawler or Jim Ross or anybody else like that, then they can allow him to do that stuff with O'Reilly, you know.
Absolutely. Now, of course, Dolph Ziggler with that short haircut still intact, not growing back, but is he now getting a big push? Is he on the start of something, or is he just a guy filling up time on Raw? I kind of looked at it this week and did wonder, because we had that match we've seen so many times, Kofi versus Dolph, retread on Raw. It happened on SmackDown week after week. They obviously enjoyed it then, and they liked it enough to put it here on Raw. Do they kind of think that maybe some people only watch Raw and some only watch SmackDown?
I genuinely do believe that.
Because, like, you know,
it's ridiculous, isn't it? It's ridiculous. I mean, if that was the case when an Orton did go to SmackDown, you know, similar kind of a situation. You know, I did like with Dolph how last week, what's he on now? Raw? He's on Raw, right?
He's on Raw.
Last week, where he wasn't on the card as such as match-wise or whatever, but they did just let you know for those 10-15 seconds, guess what? He's back. We've fixed his hair. He's backstage with Vicky. God knows what they're doing, but his hair is blonde again. So just letting you folks know. I thought that was quite funny, actually, as it was the only time he appeared on the whole show. So yeah, he's got his hair back, and he doesn't look like the rest of the guys anymore. Well, he does, I suppose, but he's got a bit of I suppose he's got a bit more to offer in the long run. He's a bit more believable than although I do like Evan Bourne, you know. Do you know what I questioned this week, actually? Check this out. Do you think they call him Evan Bourne because of this chap, what's his real name? Matt Damon? The Bourne Supremacy guy?
Right.
Because he looks like him.
Yeah.
Is that the whole deal, or what's the story?
That is probably it. I never thought about that, but he does look similar.
Yeah, that's what I just figured out.
The Bourne identity and all that.
Because his real name, isn't it, Matt Sydal? And they couldn't call him Matt Bourne because isn't that the Bourne Supremacy guy? So maybe Evan Bourne. Airborne, Evan Bourne, I don't know. I
think it's good, and probably fans everywhere would have known this, but personally I never did.
No, I never saw the connection.
Well, Well, to be honest, there is always kind of reasons they name guys, isn't there?
That's true.
I've always heard that it's maybe based on personality at times, and things are affected by how a guy gets on with an office executive like a Dusty Rhodes who was putting polka dots. I mean, that really illustrates how things that they do, maybe that we don't see, influence how their character is then portrayed, and whether or not, of course, they get that all important push. So let's of course continue talking about Raw, but we do want to talk to you in the chat room as well. He says Jason Bourne.
Jason Bourne.
I still think you're onto one there, but we'll see.
Matt Bourne was the Doink guy. Yeah, all these names.
Matt Bourne, the Doink guy. Exactly.
There you go.
Actually, I think, believe it or not, we actually are on the same website as Matt Bourne. Did you know?
I did not know that.
We, of course, we don't really talk about it much, but I must talk about it more. But I know that Brady Hicks had been put. I haven't checked there now in a while, but I know I get the email. But basically, BradyHicks.com. Brady is, of course, a writer for PWI. He does his own podcast, and he kind of syndicates lots of different podcasts, and one of them is ours, and he's probably got it live on his page now. But what did I even mention him? I think it was Doink, yeah, that's right. He's also got the Matt Bourne podcast on there.
Alright, very good.
Yeah, Matt Bourne also on that old podcast, and of course that was coming from Who's Slamming Who. Of course, Brady always had the podcast. You had that popular Who's Slamming Who with Jim Cornette, but that's now gone.
Mm-hmm.
And indeed, I think Brady making an effort to pull everybody together, and of course also Angry Marks do that for us. AngryMarks.com, who've been with us for about 9 months. They've been posting our stuff, long time, and certainly we do appreciate every time I see that message. It says, "Look, we've posted it." I mean, that's good, and certainly, yeah, it's always nice. Doink was a brilliant gimmick, says Matty.
I watched a shoot interview with Matt Bourne recently. It was quite funny. He's not afraid to shoot, I'll tell you that much. Have you ever seen any of his?
I heard the podcast.
Oh, I've never heard the podcast, but
I reckon I do think he was shooting in there. He was talking, one thing I can remember is he was talking about real life angles. Now the name of the guy who he was against at this time would have been handy, but I can't remember it. But he was talking about the real life angle he had with, I think it was his sister, who ended up going out with some other wrestler, one of the Butch, maybe Butch Reed. I was going to say Reed, but I had other names in my mind as well. And things like that, and it ties into, I suppose, other real life angles that go on. My favourite angles, always ones that tie in to real life stuff, and yeah, I think that's just a random thought.
He was putting that over as well.
He was putting it over. So always check out thebradyhicks.com and check out that Matt Bourne podcast. Can't remember offhand what it's called, but I know it's always been good, and he doesn't pull any punches. He tells it all like it is, for certain. Matty says Evil Doink, reminding us of Evil Doink. Maybe also mentioning Bushwhacker Luke. Not a brilliant gimmick, strong word, but memorable.
They were fucking nuts, those two, aren't they?
In and out of the Rumble.
Nuts. Nuts.
So onwards and upwards, is Dolph Ziggler going to the moon? I kind of questioned this week. Why not? Again, it struck me how these random guys just get picked, and we maybe sometimes see what's in them, other times you wonder why. And then you have this situation where a guy gets that long push, taken back, pushed again, taken back. Now is the time, and I actually saw Ziggler this week as maybe the guy that you can start building as the Michaels. Possibly.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he could eventually be on the Orton Raw level. I don't know, maybe he's not as fierce as that. Maybe he can't work the evil.
Well, he's got Vicky, and she's got tons of heat, so that will definitely benefit him. And they have given him that run. Is it officially recognised with the belt?
I would love to know. I must look that up. Did he win the belt that time?
I'm not sure if it's recognised, but either way, for him to even be floating around up there is a good thing. So maybe it is Seagulls is the way forward.
I think so, and again, you have to get behind with what you have, and now is, I think, the time for that guy to move on. Of course, Alex Riley v Miz, we speculated a bit there that perhaps could be Capital Punishment. That could be the match that, yeah, I'd say is most likely to happen with 2 weeks to go from now. I think that's probably all that they probably have ready, if you like. Maybe there's some Diva stuff on the way, but yeah, we more or less said it all. The new team, Alex Riley, fresh push. I think on Raw they could do much stuff really.
I think a Ziggler babyface run actually would benefit him a lot. I think he could be very good with it as well. It's just a shame if he was over on SmackDown, you could run a whole deal with him and Cody, where Ziggler is, perfection, and Cody is far from perfect with his grotesque deal. Unfortunately, they're on two different brands, but either way, even if that wasn't the case or it wasn't an angle, Ziggler babyface, I think, got good potential.
Yeah, actually, I was going to even say there that is the theory of Ziggler going to the moon on my part wrong? Because ultimately, I kind of thought about it, he could really fit into the Cody Rhodes bracket. That's where he fits. He isn't maybe, at least on look and what we expect from a guy who's at the top, maybe he isn't quite Orton. Maybe you need a few years to build size, but do guys build size now? Of course, there's strict regimes about how people work out and what they do.
They lose size, if anything.
They lose size, yeah. But there was somebody, and I'm trying to think exactly who it was, that stood out to me recently as having gained size. Now, whether it was TNA or WWE, I'm not certain. I'll think about it, but ultimately I wondered, is that still going on? I mean, presumably there are guys who maybe start off small, and even if they do it all naturally, that they do actually maybe build up over time.
Or else you've guys who, probably come in and do the, I wonder if there's drug testing in FCW, but come in through the indies and they're already jacked out of their mind by the time they hit FCW, and they just pull it back a little bit, take the protein shakes, stay big and strong, and then by the time they hit a new Nexus, you're laughing pretty much. So
it's a farm territory for Nexus now, isn't it? It's a farm territory to supply them with new Nexus members to get Wade Barrett over, and I think anybody they've thrown in that spot has not done too well. He certainly hasn't done massively well himself, I don't think, to actually, well, he sold the angle when he had it. But I'm looking now at another idea here, because I thought about how recently they haven't done this crazy referee thing for a while. Now, I think the last time I saw it was TNA. There was a bald guy with a kind of a short referee shirt. You remember that guy? And
he was kind of he had like the shorts.
The shorts. Who I can't remember his name. It doesn't matter. But that's the last time I remember the kind of angle where the referee gets involved, starts wrestling. Now, is Nunzio, the newly installed and employed referee, is he being built? Now, this is where I thought I look into this too much.
I'd say that guy's, like I said, probably just happy to have a job, really. I don't know if, I'm sure they could do something with him down the line. I don't think it'll get too hectic, but I know what you mean, yeah.
It seemed to be a massive job. I think it was the pay-per-view where I first noticed on Over the Limit that Nunzio was actually a referee, and it's been talked about widely. I'm sure you've seen guys laughing about this. It hasn't gone unnoticed, but I just think maybe, leave him there and let us forget about him. Let's just think, right, he is just a referee, and maybe you can pull the referee.
You could do stuff with him, though,
What nationality is Nunzio? Italian, isn't it?
Italian-American, maybe, is it?
So I wonder, and actually I must correct myself. Last week I said Jinder Mahal is probably American. He's actually Canadian.
Really?
Yeah, he is, yeah.
Wow.
So again, you can make that mistake easily, for sure.
Interesting.
And
I thought he was a legit straight from India guy.
Yeah, that's it. They do it well. They do it well.
That's right.
I think I told you recently that genuinely, for a long time, I believed Kane and The Undertaker were brothers. It's because I didn't look into it.
Right.
I didn't at the time. I wasn't looking at Wiki. Early days, I didn't really watch the product. Now, to be fair, but I did believe it.
That's funny.
So I can remember people, making jokes about how they have family dinners and all that, and I thought, that's
the two boys.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving.
Of course, yeah. Kane, a nice guy.
Nice guy.
Which leads us on to Kane involved in that Big Show Del Rio angle, which I marked about so much last week. I enjoyed it when you had, as I said for ages, that Del Rio went and attacked Show after he sat in his car. That led to Show getting knocked down, and that one was followed up this week by, Show was off TV to sell, and because he's selling that injury, but Del Rio cutting a promo, and this is just brilliant stuff. I don't know why I like it.
I can't even remember what Del Rio was on about.
What he said, well, what he always says, but for some reason, for me, he just needs to cut the promo to get over. I just don't care really what he's talking about. Any feud that they put him in, to me, is gold. I don't know why I've reacted like that. Sometimes the work is just good.
He's funny, he is funny. I like his facial expressions to crack me up. And that cheeky wink he does, he gets away with it. I just can't really remember where they went with it. I do remember strongly the whole beatdown and the car deal, but maybe I zoned out, or I went to make some food or something when that happened. But I just can't remember what he was banging on about there. I don't know.
I reckon he was literally just saying, I'm gonna be, I don't know, I'm gonna get you again.
It's still my destiny to.
Pretty much. I wish now that you say it, I remembered exactly what he said, but it, like I said, to me, it's kind of a visual thing. He comes out in the car, and for that moment, I think the kayfabe just is on. I seem to just kind of suspend disbelief, because some guys can make you do that. Now, I wouldn't so much say that the matches are high quality.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not yet. Now, of course, he's coming to another style altogether.
I can't. I never thought he was overly great from what I've seen in the ring. When he was coming in, and I heard all the backstory of Dos Caras or whatever they call him below. I was expecting some crazy ass stuff, But I don't know. I just haven't seen. He's had some strong matches, good matches, but nothing. Give me a Sin Cara doing some crazy ass stuff and acting the clown any day,
Absolutely. For me, I think it's a lot of times it's just maybe the style with these guys over the substance, arguably, that the matches maybe don't necessarily have to be great if I buy the work.
It's true.
Sometimes I buy the work.
You really paid attention to a wrestling match.
Yeah, that's it. And that's sad, because those ones that you actually suddenly find yourself involved in.
Mm-hmm. There was one on Raw this week. I don't know if it was a Evan Bourne or if it was a Ziggler deal, where I was like, Christ, these guys are unbelievable. What match was that? Well, there was a lot of I like the run in the ropes. The crazy run in the ropes does it for me these days.
Was that Evan Bourne Swagger?
I think it might have been. It was something hectic anyway, but made me stand up and take notice. So.
Yeah, it made me think that Swagger. What happened? WrestleMania was huge. Cole was obviously the whole part of him being there. Now, you can't say that really about Alex Riley, even though The Miz does, because he's being followed up. They're continuing what they had with him. And of course, it might be a case of needing a direction for The Miz, but either way, he's there. And I think Swagger, he's just back in a match with Evan Bourne.
I'm giving Evan Bourne a Superstar of the Week this week, I think.
Going over Swagger as well.
Did he go over? Yeah,
he did. Yeah,
he took a nasty few bumps off him. He's not afraid to take those bumps, Evan Bourne. All rounder, good guy all round, like that Evan Bourne.
Absolutely. Now into the chat room, and hello to everyone joining us tonight. Matty P&O, at one point I thought it was Texas Tornado playing the Second Warrior. We're talking classic angles in there. That's one I'd like to see.
That's funny, actually.
Talk of Nails as well. I mentioned Mantor last week and said he should be mentioned every week. I've just done that. Nails, number 2,
wasn't
every
there a
week.
Big controversy with that guy back in the day, wasn't there?
Oh, wow,
Do you remember in the UK tabloid, was it the Mirror or the Sun?
Was it the Sun? I'm thinking the Sun.
You remember that whole deal?
I do, yeah.
Where, was it Vince...
Who knows? It's all alleged, isn't it?
Alleged allegations of sexual harassment.
Well, we heard crazy stuff though.
That was nuts, yeah.
I think the kind of the talk in school or wherever it would have been at the time, because God, it was 20 years ago, but it was that something very untoward happened, and not the most simplest of things. The work was a lot different than I think the fact, but certainly Nails and McMahon, they didn't get on, but Nails every week now. I think building Nails it up every week.
The Nails have music.
Good question. Was it like an alarm or something? It wasn't an alarm.
God knows.
I think he came out to nothing actually.
He could work though, couldn't he?
I think he could. Well, I suppose SummerSlam '92.
Have to go back to the archives.
Taking on Virgil for SummerSlam. I think he didn't have music actually.
For SummerSlam.
Yeah, that was actually the UK SummerSlam. Virgil. Yeah. Virgil v Nails. Look.
I have to look that up again.
What was the deal? I mean, it would have been too expensive for us to go to that. I mean, why?
Ah, yeah, it was crazy, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say tickets to that were probably impossible.
You remember the one where I think we mentioned this on WrestleDope before, where we were so keen on finding out who this the Patriot was.
Yeah.
That's the classic. We were like two detectives about this height, trying to find out who the Patriot was. That's a break of kayfabe there now. Sorry. But we
no,
were...
not at all. I mean, I think we've said it before, but scouring through PWIs in the top tens, I mean...
Matching the body weight, he's 280, 275.
And you know, the funny thing about that, actually, and I'd only know this now, I wouldn't have in the last few years, but wasn't it Salvatore Sincere, the guy who's all... That's his WWE 1995 whatever work, but what was his name again? He's in all the shooters.
Is it? The Patriot?
That's the real guy. There's a guy called Wilkes, but what I was going to say to you is that a guy started using the Patriot gimmick after Wilkes. Now, it was Salvatore Sincere, but what's his real name? I'm sure the chat room has told us. But so, in other words, another guy robbed... Well, I would say robbed. As far as I hear, he was allowed to use the gimmick, and he started using it. So, another Patriot.
So, the run there around... the Bret Hart time or the Canadian deal, was that the Wilkes guy or was that the...
That I think was the real guy, and perhaps then the guy who's Phil says it's Tom Brandy bought the gimmick from Del Wilkes. Now
he bought the gimmick. You're joking me? Is that what you said?
Yeah, that's apparently right. Yeah,
that's insane.
It makes sense, doesn't it? If it's yours, and I must correct myself as well, talking about Alex Riley, because
amazing.
I said last week that that's not how you spell the word Riley, R-I-L-E-Y, that it's actually R-E-I-L-L-Y, but I did see an English TV presenter this week, Alex R-I-L-E-Y. So that's entirely his name if he wants it, I think.
Oh, that's fair enough.
Interesting to think. So somebody does spell it as Riley, so I didn't know that.
It's probably the Irish Riley.
That's right. Yeah. So in that sense, I was wrong. Filibuster, Tom Zenk was a different guy. Matty Salvatore Sincere was Z-Man. Or am I wrong? No, it's Z-Man.
Tom Zenk, yeah. Christ, I haven't heard that name in a long time.
So that's who he was. I didn't know that.
Tom Zenk was on that deal we saw back in the days, I think, wasn't he? The WCW?
Yeah, he was, yeah. He was even in the WCW comic, the magazine. He was a big star for a while. I must pull out some point. It's just right behind me here, but the WCW program, the 1993 program, where you've got an introduction from Bill Shaw, and he's talking about how, you know, this is the best show you're ever going to see. They've then got the credits of everybody involved. Now, of course, wrestling credits, you never see them. Yeah. I know back in the 80s, like ITV and other, wrestling companies, they did scroll credits.
Yeah. What was that photo of the bulldog out in the car park? Is very funny.
I must get it out because it's here to show you, and I'll do that. But that was funny. So that was a '93 WCW show. In case you're wondering what we're talking about, Bite Mike. I think WCW Saturday Night had credits for a bit. I always wondered. I suppose it's because look, we can't say that this guy booked the talent. This guy is a trainer.
Yeah. Especially these days, because straight away people are going to get bombarded. Facebooks, Twitters,
That's true.
There's just too many. It's too open to the peeps.
Of course, we knew of Freddie Prinze Jr. Now we get a hotline to Freddie Prinze Jr. on Twitter, and yeah, he writes for WWE. In case you didn't know, he was fired. I think he came back. Is he still there now? I don't know. But that's where we're getting those Hollywood quality storylines, and certainly indeed. I know he's still part of it, I think. But Phil says the model managed to avoid the Honky Tonks whipping list. Good for him. Is that the show? Is that the website? Could be. Great Honky Tonk show.
I have to listen to it.
Yeah.
I have to listen to it. I remember it during the week, but I didn't track it down.
Because, I mean, I used to look forward to shoots when they came out.
With Honky?
With Honky, I used to wait for them.
There was somebody what was the one that was I saw like highlights of? Was it Caval or Loki, as he calls himself? He was supposed to have given a really really good interview there in the last week or two. I can't remember what show it was on, but I did bookmark it to come back to it. I just like saw some highlight text that looked quite funny. Vince stuff, I always enjoy.
Absolutely indeed. So plenty more to talk about tonight, and of course you can catch us on youtube.com/TheWrestleDope. Just some talk there about Capitol Punishment and also this week's Raw. So without a doubt, we look for your participation in the chat room tonight, and indeed if you would like to chat to us, we will love to hear from you in the comments, and indeed we will have a look at those in just a moment. So let's see how we're getting on here. Of course we do record this live now and it goes straight to YouTube, and sometimes there might be a little bit of glitches, but overall I think it's easier to do it and put the full thing up.
I like it, yeah.
I think in one sense it shows that we do in fact sit there every week and talk away a lot about the current product. Now, I think that was it regarding Raw. Just to go through some stuff SmackDown wise, and I know we've probably gotten through a lot of this already, and you know, just looking down the list here, things I noticed just as a randomer. Now we're sitting here with mics with leads. Matt Striker had a lead on his mic this week backstage. It did kind of make me think, you know, this does look, well, you know, at times people say you should have wireless and it looks jabroni, but Matt Striker had a wire. Maybe it's in fashion again to do that.
God knows, I wouldn't see. You'd know that. You'd pay more attention to that side of it than I would now. But that's a good observation out of you.
You know, it made me think as well. I looked at Striker this week, and it made me kind of realise that he's the Borash. I think he could be the Jeremy Borash of WWE.
He very much is. He's the Mark's Mark, really, isn't he? Along with Scott Stanford. Hey, check this out. You know how we talked about the whole managers situation last week, and how you had Michael Hayes, and then you had Armando doing his thing. Guess who's Tyson's manager this week?
I didn't see.
Matt Striker.
Matt Striker.
Matt Striker is Tyson Kidd's third manager.
Right. What was that on?
Superstars, I believe.
Right. I didn't see that now or hear that.
So
why are they just throwing Tyson Kidd on there? I mean, he's worth putting on TV. He had the Heart Foundation for ages, and that was a legitimate build. I mean, you know, why not try and replicate the kind of Bret Hart? I know it's tough, but the transition from the Heart Foundation to Single Star. Maybe they're trying different managers, like you say. They're not fully decided. But Striker, I mean, he was good with Mark Henry.
Striker, Striker's just good at everything that he does, really. Sometimes he yaks a bit too much, and he is a bit too much on the know-it-all side of things, ever so slightly sometimes. But I do like him when he is really good at his job. As a manager, I just don't think Tyson Kidd is the one that needs to have a manager. I think he can talk okay. All he needs to do is just shave that little bit of hair at the top, at the front of his head, and he'll be okay. I think that's what's holding him back, if you ask me.
Now, Bite Mike, Superstars is still a show. It is worldwide. It's not on in America, but we do still see it. I think more or less all the other territories still have it. Why they dropped it in the US, I have no idea. And whether or not they actually even tried to put it out on the web, why they wouldn't do that, I don't know. Is it there? I'm not certain. But 3 Count also, thanks to you. I know a new username in the room. We'll certainly follow you on the channel, and by all means follow us here as well. We would love to have you on board each and every Sunday, 4 Eastern, 1 Pacific, and 9 GMT. So I mean, Tyson Kidd, as to say, somebody else also said it, he needs to shave that Snooky proof that he has.
Oh, right, very good.
It's funny to think, you know, that
we're on the same wavelength. Who said that?
That was 3 Count. About shaving, is it?
Yeah.
That's 3 count. Yeah, I'm liking 3 counts.
All right, very good. Oh, you can see it there. Yeah, he needs to shade it.
Everything from the name to the comments. I mean, 3 count, good character,
Good stuff, good call.
good character going forward.
I'm here from now on.
3 count. I'm here from now on. Many have said that. I hope you are. Many have said that, but next week they're not here. But let's hope they will. You will be. Yeah, so other things going on SmackDown, random stuff here I'm talking, but I think sometimes to look beyond the obvious, if you like.
We're on SmackDown, yeah?
We're on SmackDown for a little bit.
Well, I'll tell you something that made me stand up and take notice this week, and that was AJ.
Yeah,
You know,
definitely, yeah.
it was good to see her back on TV, I'll tell you that much. She's got a weird kind of a deal with her work, though. It's kind of unique enough, isn't it? It's a bit different from the usual Kelly Kellys and the Eve Torres of the world. She's got a strange kind of style, but you know, I'm glad to see her back. She definitely made me stand up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For AJ's career.
Yeah.
And indeed, she is going all the way to the top. She was absolutely stunning. It has to be said. There was a huge difference in how she looked. She seemed kind of... they seem to have this way. It's probably whoever does the makeup, the costuming, but, you know, she seemed to just change over these past few weeks and become a diva. And they seem to be able to whatever way they arrive, and usually they're always good looking. I mean, they do seem to select ones that are kind of good looking. It's TV and that's what they're going to do. They're casting a show, if you like. But yeah, I was really surprised actually, because of course this has had a week or two where you've had her on with Caitlin, two buried from season 3. Of course, I was kind of hoping on the other side of the team, the heel diva team, we might maybe see Maxine from NXT season 3. Obviously not, but what we did see was Rosa Mendez. Now thank God they've finally decided to start putting her on TV. This exercising backstage is a waste of really one of the best looking divas on that roster, in my own opinion. And I think Rosa Mendez for the future, Rosa Mendez as a heel champion. You know, the diva thing is happening on SmackDown now. Raw has nothing.
It's buried over it, especially now that Karma's got herself into some serious trouble. You know, the other thing I like about AJ is how they do put her over, with Matthews saying, you know, she's the girl next door and all that kind of stuff, and she's got those the extended kind of Converse boots, wrestling boots, trainers, runners, whatever you want to call them. But you know, she does look the part. I like the way she's not like a Trish Stratus the way she was, or she's not like a Tori. She's kind of got just the normal kind of deal going on.
Yes.
But with that unique style, I think her style is quite unique. That's what made me definitely pay attention, you know.
Is Caitlyn any good?
She's okay. She's alright.
Almost like an Eve Torres, isn't she? I reckon quite tall, sort of Amazon-like, I believe, and that's probably also the all-American. I'm saying American again. She's probably Canadian, and I don't want to offend the Canadians in the room. Of course, I always find out where you're talking to someone, you go, "Oh, you're from America." No, I'm actually from Canada. Actually,
yeah. It's
we do that sometimes. I mean,
it's tough to kind of pick out those words that you can tell the difference from. It's like people say sometimes to us, you know, English. No, not English.
Yeah, speak English. I've seen that written in the chat room telling us, because I do wonder what you think we sound like. Probably very garbled and strange indeed. But you know, you talked about Karma. Again, I looked at Karma and I wonder why they did that promo. Not to say I didn't enjoy the promo, because when it got going, I thought, well, look, at least she got her moment. They got some kind of arc from her. They had her come in, scare people. Then she kind of unexpectedly surprised us, started crying, and then the next week the explanation. It was the dream scenario. Oh, it's taken me forever to get here, and now I'm going. But it kind of made me think, well, actually, they were putting her in there with Brie Bella mainly, so maybe she was actually babyface. You know, I assumed wrong that she was heel.
Yeah, I think everybody thought she was heel because of her size and her look. I think it was probably Trips was responsible for that whole how they handle that, because Vince, I don't think he'd be the type to do that. And now that it's been quite some time since Vince has produced any kids. What age is Steph and Shane? They're pushing it a little bit at this stage, so he kind of forgets sometimes, I think, and maybe Tripp stepped in. He's fairly new to the whole kid situation, maybe saw it from a different point of view, and obviously that will keep Stephanie, or give a few brownie points for him with Steph. So I'm sure they just said, look, go out and just tell it like it is. But they still kind of got the digs in there with the Bellas. Was it the Bellas that came down?
They were on Raw, actually. Did they come down? They did come down to SmackDown. Yes, they did.
Yeah. Or whoever came down and they were calling her.
Did they? Yeah, it all runs into
itself. There was some bit of shoot
itself.
with the whole pregnant deal anyway, whoever it was. They got the digs in. But for the most part, it was nicely handled.
Absolutely, of course. She said, I hope I'm back in a year's time. Will it be the case? I'm not sure. I know they're going to try and find a way of bringing her back, but they've lost the momentum of what her build was, and they'll have to presumably take it in another direction. Do we have such short memories that in a year's time, generally anyway, the mainstream, who maybe don't look any further than the TV, maybe she'll have just slipped from their mind, and she will be a new character when it comes down to it. Of course, so many other stuff just stood out this week that I did actually have to write it down. It was just little things, but I mentioned the stuff about Stryker, and I wanted to talk as well about Ezekiel. Now, somebody said, I think was it Josh Matthews, that he brings intelligence to the ring. How has that been established? Just literally by the biblical name, or is that something that makes him intelligent? But if anybody is intelligent in the pairing of him and Wade Barrett, for me it would be Wade Barrett. I mean, he's the mastermind.
That's a strange thing for Josh Matthews to come out with, unless he left it on the outside on the steps before he got into the ring. God knows, but I haven't seen it anyway, I'll tell you that much.
Absolutely. Now, your comments welcome in the chat room. 3 count. Maurice is too Barbie for my taste. Of course, Kelly is Barbie blank.
I was only talking about that recently.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Barbie blank. Well, I mean, it's a
great name, isn't it?
It is. Well, I mean, no, not to actually say that it does suit her, but maybe it does. I mean, we don't know her, but she seemed friendly that time. I think she was kind of in and around the backstage of a show. She seemed friendly to fans, so I wouldn't say she kind of is a Maurice backstage, at least how Maurice appears. But talking about Maurice, and some people mentioning her in here, that where is she, what's she been doing? I think it's NXT actually, and I have this week's on there, but I didn't get too far through it. 3 count. Tessmacher is the best, and Matty PN01. Luke would be a good match for the Miz, though. Maybe his new manager. SmackDown has to go to Jinder Mahal, doesn't it?
And Superstar of the Week.
Maybe that would be my superstar. Yeah, I might go with that.
His music is quite funny as well, isn't it?
It is.
Although he worked his match this week, didn't he? He came out in that white kind of gimmick robe thing.
That was right. It's not so much that he did anything in the match.
Mm-hmm.
It was, to me, the second coming of the Del Rio, the Orton, the character that for some reason I zone in on. For some reason now I'm looking at Jinder Mahal as being someone good. I think, the match, like the very first Del Rio, it didn't show too much, but you want to save it week on week. You don't want to give it all away. I'd like to see him thrown straight in on the pay-per-view here.
Well, I think there's a legit reason why he bypassed NXT and the usual rigmarole, a short stay in FCW as well. I'm sure there's a lot more that we haven't seen from that guy. Can't believe he's Canadian though.
Yeah,
that's very
apparently Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Again, now I'll have to look at the wiki again, but I know it was definitely Canada. But yeah, indeed, I think often I would just assume that these guys would be from America. Now, Jinder and Khali together as a combination, to me, it could be built very well, because you kind of forget about Khali now. He can be the best special enforcer a guy ever had.
You could do some serious damage with him on the outside.
You could. I'm looking forward to seeing what they go with regards to him. And I know that they're going to be at least trying, because they've demonstrated it now that well, I mean, he's worth more than a Ranjan Singh, and that they want to do something with Kali as well. And again, they've always tried with Kali, even though he's been. So many people have said, during matches you can't wrestle, those chants come, and it doesn't matter because he's been pushed. I saw him in matches with like Cena and things like that from years ago.
It's just he is what he is, isn't he? In fairness, is Ranjan Singh still involved in the back? I'm sure he is, isn't he?
I'd say so. He probably just slipped back now.
Does he go around with those crazy ass sideburns and that's his thing? It's not a stick on.
I would say they're real, and I think he grew him over time.
They're crazy.
Yeah, he did actually. He did grow him over time, which was kind of funny to think that he kind of went with that, and it became that 70s show after a while. Yeah, or what's that other one? The one with all the kind of, I can't think of what that one is called, but he did remind me of a few sitcom characters, and maybe televisual in that way. Maybe he reminds us of people that we've maybe seen on TV before.
Was he ever a worker?
A worker, I can't say for certain. And maybe like a lot of those guys, they probably come there and tried it. And Byron Saxton and that, of course he's trying it for real now on the internet. There's no space for him on commentary now. Clearly they pick Booker T over him, so who knows? I mean, I know it's just going to continue on as an NXT deal probably.
I'm briefly going to just talk about Zack Ryder here for a second. I genuinely now believe that this whole YouTube Long Island thing is an internal trial work from the E. I've gone on record just to say that.
You think so?
I think so, yeah.
And what about the Twitter belt and all that?
Yeah, I think that was the thing that really sent it home for me.
Do you think what they've done here is, I suppose, just seen what happened and then decided to do it? I mean, was it all his angle to begin with? I'd say it was.
I'd say maybe it was his concept, and I'm sure they just gave him the time to roll with it and tested their feet in the water with it, I suppose would be the best way to put it. And going forward, we should see if it was beneficial for him or if it was a complete waste of time. Well, he's got solid hits, and the signs and the crowd and a lot of the talent and a lot of the guys in the back seem to be fond of him and put him over. I don't know if it'll translate to people who aren't smart marks, the wider scale. I suppose there is the Jersey Shore kind of tie-in, but I mean, Robbie's kind of beaten him to it, really, hasn't he?
He has. He was there.
And they've kind of really dropped the ball with him for whatever reason. I don't know if he's injured or if he's whatever on Explosion. Do they still run that one?
They do, yeah.
But whatever the case is, they've kind of certainly dropped the ball with that guy, which is unfortunate because I liked him. I liked Robbie. I thought he had a lot of potential.
I agree. I missed much of Robbie's time, but I did see a match on a pay-per-view. I think it was maybe a pay-per-view or two ago. I thought, wow, I mean, this guy is just tearing around the place, and it looks believable, a strong, good worker.
Solid, yeah,
He really,
solid.
I have to say it. I mean, he's definitely got substance in that case, and I certainly like to see more of the guy, and maybe he will go on further. Now, I did want to talk as well about the upcoming Irish/UK tour. Now, it's many months away, I suppose. In a way, it's November, where they're going to be coming here for we'll say some house shows in this country at least, and there'll be TV tapings in the UK. But I think it's time to see, can we get to the front there for that Raw tape?
It should be something we should really try to do. Yeah,
It's been a few years, but now would be a good time to try it and be funny at least.
it would be funny. It would be funny.
Even the house show would be worth having a look at for the laugh anyway.
Yeah, well, I think I'll be up for the tapings again. It's been a couple of years since we've done it.
And of course, on other matters now, again, not to go into any detail at all, but we've got something special coming up very soon.
We've got I don't know how far you want to take it, but
It's hard to go into this without details, but let's say
We'll go
it is a major announcement.
It is. It's a good one. It was one that might just beat Doug Basham as far as interviews go. Let's put it that way.
That's where we leave it. But next week, we hope we will have another interview. And this one is going to be very, very educational, very, very insightful, and we will hardly be saying two words because we're going to be listening to a true legend, and it's hard to say too much because it'll be revealed, but it'll be an interesting surprise to see who this is, and we hope that this one goes down well, and it's going to be happening very shortly. So we would hope that there will be another interview next week. So we're going to see how it all pans out. If it does go a week, well, it'll happen, I think, in this case.
I don't want to talk too much about reveals. Well, it'll be a surprise. It'll be a good one.
Yeah, it is.
Educational is the good word. It's a good choice.
As I say, I think this does qualify as a major announcement. You know what I mean?
It is. It's a nice little scoop.
Absolutely. So that's going to be what's coming up here, and indeed we have plenty coming on that front as well. Somehow it's falling into place.
Just about.
In these past 3 weeks, actually, it started to, kind of fall into place with regards to that. So let's see how that goes, and indeed we will look forward to that. Like I say, we're not going to be saying much. I said that weeks ago. But, in that case, at least you get to hear the guy. Because I've heard some interviewers, and God, this very person, I actually heard an interview during the week, and again, I won't go anywhere to saying who it is, but the guy who was interviewing him literally didn't stop talking. The question went on forever. And it's like, at some point you gotta, 5 questions in one is a bit too much. So just kind of, let him talk. So if it is us standing there listening, well, so be it, because this legend,
he can certainly deliver. Yeah, he'll deliver.
Absolutely. So that's what we've got coming up. As I see, we are slightly glitching, but let's just see if it actually sorts itself out. Of course, that live records sometimes a bit glitchy on the YouTube front, but it's always a learning experience. And of course, we now get to put that podcast up straight away, and indeed, there's no waiting, if you like. And there it seems to fix itself, so I don't really need to switch that off if it does that.
Okay.
So I know every one of these things has got like a little bit where people talk tech, and I hate hearing it.
That's alright. Don't worry.
Whenever I listen to these things on Justin, they have a 10-minute, now I'm setting up this computer and I'm going to do this and that, and we are on YouTube now, unedited, and indeed the whole world isn't watching. 5 are, but a few more are going to watch this one.
We've got 19 there on the live, so
absolutely, yeah. So
20. There you go, one extra.
20 is good, because let's be honest, and talking about viewers, and we can be very specific about viewers. How many months ago was it where we were just like, it doesn't actually matter how many people are, as long as the people who want to come in to check it out, that's all that matters. It will never earn us money.
Mm-hmm.
So why are you going to go out there, in a sense, and it's just our take on it really, but why do you want to take it to the point where I suppose you're that desperate to get the views? Because I'm not.
Again, I suppose, not everybody's going to be able to make the live deal each and every week. Most people seem to watch the archive, and if you don't watch the archive, they're watching it on YouTube. I like that Fugazi username, whoever's driving that ship.
Yeah.
That's good stuff right there.
It is. Fugazi 1 in the room, and who else have we got joining us in the room? Some new names in there, of course. 3 Count, Chris Morg. All of you guys, if you'd like to follow us. Hello to Crazy Juice as well. Dashing Doctor, we've got Drifter, Fugazi, Lil Jimmy, Matty, NB Socks 44, Filibuster, Ricky, DX, and I know you followed us on Twitter as well, so thanks for that. Sharpshooter HBH, the Shockmaster, best angle of all time.
Funniest thing ever.
And also Sobi55 and Uriah Spear. Uriah Spear, new names joining us in the room. Bike Mike, 24-hour non-live broadcasting would bring in more viewers on a Sunday. Definitely thinking about maybe doing that early on a Sunday. Just the old stuff.
Playing out, yeah.
It's always worth
Some
it.
of it's pretty...
Yeah.
A little bit. And,
Should we start a from the vault section where we drag up at about the hour and a half mark so that nobody really on YouTube gets there? You could stick in a video from maybe 6 months ago, but as you say,
I know there's some of them are quite funny. Some of them are so dated. It's just how quickly, you know, they become dated. It's mad. Even sometimes 6 weeks ago seems like 20 years ago, doesn't it?
it does. That's why I've always been saying years talking about this. Of course, it's just been a year, but you know. That's just a bit over a year now, but certainly, as I say, we are always trying. God loves a trier. We keep on trying, and certainly we know at least that there will be some interest in this interview, and we look forward to your reactions to it. Of course, maybe we could even do the first play out on the channel, possibly.
That would be cool, yeah.
I know this is all shoot.
Exclusive, yeah.
Again, a lot of this stuff, like I say, you know, we move on. When we leave this, we're not literally going on about this non-stop, but, you know, a lot of this stuff, like, we're just talking about this now. You know what I
That's
mean?
very true, yeah.
So we kind of decide on the spot, but that's kind of how it works. It's just a shoot where we sit here and talk about stuff.
This is it. It'd be strange to do one that wasn't about wrestling, if you're just sitting here talking about whatever the hell.
Yeah, imagine we talked about music. If only I had the clip of it.
Effing rock, yeah.
Imagine we could talk about everything. We could talk about cinema. We could talk about
food.
Food, yeah.
I could talk about food all day.
Yeah. I could talk about it for 5 hours. If only every YouTube account had those above 15-minute limits, because at that point, you can do social media
I like the
for
idea
everything.
of the food show, though.
Yeah, let's put that one down now. What date is it? The 5th of May. So that's in our 5th of May YouTube cooking show.
Cooking show coming soon.
Cook along live. That's you know, the Gordon Ramsay thing. You know, we could have guys on webcams cooking
screaming
stuff
at them.
Yeah. See, that's what it's all about. It's about I suppose learning, isn't it? And about doing different stuff for the laugh.
Bit of cooking never goes astray.
Now, I wanted to turn our attention to some dirt sheet stuff. Of course, we often ignore what goes on dirt sheet wise, and maybe at times that's to our detriment, because to be honest, I know whether it's a good or a bad thing, a lot of the podcasts, that's all they have. I mean, they start, they're 5 minutes in, and they just go straight to reading out the stories word for word.
Yeah.
And I know, you know, you can do that, but I mean,
it's already been done, I suppose, in word form.
it has. Now, stories this week, so let's briefly go through them. We had a Warrior Hulk Hogan feud developing on Twitter. I think you were mentioning this a week ago.
Was I? Yeah?
I think you might have been. I may be wrong, but
I'm just going to look at the headline. I don't want to read whatever they've written there.
well, I laughed when I heard that Hogan had said Warrior was a jabroni. I mean, that starts it off well. But what are they working?
So these
here?
are quotes. All right.
We've got the quotes here, and you know, it's a lot of Hogan stuff actually given out about it.
No, I just think it's. I think Warrior has got his hunger back for the business, just like Brett did. You know, these guys have bang on said on every turn, and I'm sure. My guess, as it is right now, is that Warrior is some way. I would imagine some way, or has been negotiating with Bischoff and Co. for some sort of a deal with TNA, and it's part of a worked angle to bring it to mainstream attention and bring Warrior in somehow as the new network guy now that Foley's out of the picture. That's my guess. Most of the time I can be wrong with this thing, so I'm just going to throw it out there. That's the only thing I can think, unless Warrior's really been shoveling those rides back and has some serious issues.
I think it's very possible that TNA possibly could be. Did you mention that the TNA could be a possibility?
Oh, that's what I was just saying.
Sometimes I have a tendency to mention stuff you mentioned again, but I think often we're on that same wavelength. You know, it looks to be TNA. And could he come out? I mean, he did in Spain. He came out in the colours.
Orlando Jordan, the classic match.
You know, it's good to think that he could be back, because that again, well, it's a mark-out moment for classic fans who, maybe the bulk of TNA viewers are classic fans.
Yeah, I will say if they do bring him back, there's no need to dress him up in the Warrior gear. I don't think he'll return to the full on kind of working matches and stuff, running around with the strings on and all that, going bananas stuff. Just bring him back in whatever, some sort of a suit deal or some jeans and a t-shirt. But, he's nuts enough and he can talk enough shit to get over. So if they just run with that, I think it should be fine. They have such a crazy past, and I think the last time Warrior jobbed to Hogan, so straight away you've got an angle to run with between WrestleMania 6, the whole WCW thing, and two of the biggest ever legends left. Sure, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that it would be an easy angle to run with.
It certainly would, and it's money, isn't it? From the get-go, they could make some money here, and
mainstream as well, like I said.
Mainstream, yeah, and
that shit'll tie over.
The Hogan quotes are hilarious. Warrior was a jabroni. Hulkamania still runs wild. Warrior's just jealous and angry about the sad way it all ended for him without a whimper. Warrior let a lot of fans down over and over. Not something that they will ever easily be forgiven or forgotten. So Warrior back at Hogan. They say I hate Hogan. Never did. Like a favourite loved pet who has come to the end of its its useful life. Time to put an end to his misery. So yeah, this stuff went on kind of not in a negative way, but with RVD, when he was kind of pulling him in. And of course RVD at the time supposedly was talking to WWE. Now I doubt Warrior is, but there you go, that's what's been happening between those two. And I must say as well, actually, my regular dirt sheet was Raja.com, and as you can see there, I'm getting a lot of malware warnings on Raja.com.
It's happening to me with one that and another one I use at the moment too.
Some recent advert that they're putting on a lot of these sites is malware infested, so probably best to keep off those dirt sheets for the moment. Brushing straight over China wanting to make more adult movies, it speaks for itself, I think. We talked a bit about John Morrison, of course, recent surgery, meaning that Morrison is going to be out for a while. He says he's doing great and that he is going to wrestle, but it will be a while. This is sad because I thought anyway that at least he was involved with R-Truth, so it could maybe have been Cena, R-Truth and Morrison.
It probably would have been, yeah. Probably would have been.
So early May is when he had the surgery, so back in action within a month or two.
That quick?
Yeah.
Well, that's alright.
Better than nothing.
He's missing something. Maybe a decent manager, something ain't right with the old Jomo still.
Absolutely. Now talk of Tough Enough 2 as well. I know people have enjoyed it. You know my feelings on it, but will there be a second one? Steve Austin commented on that possibility, saying he's got questions, no word yet. Very interesting. He stated that Monday during an interview with AfterBuzz TV, actually, which really it's the ultimate actually in terms of these shows. I have to put over AfterBuzz TV. I think it's Candice Michelle and Lillian Garcia.
Wow.
In a kind of a head-to-head on a table talking live, and have people like Tommy Dreamer on the phone and stuff like that,
I think you mentioned this, man. Let's check it out.
It is good. It's good. I think it must be on after Raw, but it's they cover other topics as well.
Sweet.
Very nice setup, excellent setup, and I guess the only opponent or competitor for it, if you like, would be the other channel. I think it's the one Gregory Helms is on, and I forget now what it's called, but it's on Justin. That gets a lot of viewers as well, of course.
The Geek.
Yeah, Geek Week. Geek Week. Of course, that's got a lot of different shows, but absolutely, AfterBuzz TV, they're doing the live stuff the best it can be done. I mean, it looks brilliant. It's perfect, really. It's lit well, and it just shows you that there's a lot of ingenuity put into stuff like that, and even TV quality stuff now. They're making it onto the net with people like that, but a lot of malware warnings. I have no idea why. And of course, Riley officially switching brands. I'm not sure if we mentioned that, but he is now on Raw.
It's the best place for him.
Absolutely. So that's dirt sheet wise where we are at. I've got to get off these sites because every one of them, every one of them warning me to get the hell off, and I think I'm just going to have to do that. I don't even know how long we've gone.
I caught up with Tough Enough, actually. Speaking of Tough Enough, and it's not been too bad. It's not been too bad. You know, it's watchable. It's not, and it's not. I don't find myself fast forwarding, and I was curious as to who would be eliminated next, and you know, the following week, and so on and so forth. And the two that are left, surprising. Certainly with the guy's name escapes me now, but the longer haired chap, somebody in the chat room might know. Surprised that he made it in, but the other guy I think was a dead set. The guy who's certainly not short on confidence, whatever his name is. Those names don't register with none of them, none of the tough enough guys. But it's been good. I've enjoyed it. It's been okay.
I think a lot of people, they're lucky to get a spot on TV in something like this, because maybe they've been through developmental systems, maybe even just looked at initially for developmental, and then they decide, well, the raw material is somewhat there, and either way we don't need too much in the way, because we're training them, we're going to train them on screen, and basically we're just seeing the training process in a worked way. First few episodes I saw, after that I can't really comment. But would you kind of maybe rave about it, or would you be like, well,
I'll put it to you this way: I miss 1 or 2 episodes, and normally with stuff like that, you know, like, oh, I need to go back and watch, and just to see where I'm at or who got eliminated. But with that, I just went, I'll just pick it up from last week or whatever. So I think I missed 1 or 2. With some of the other eliminations, it's kind of one of those ones I wasn't too pushed. So no, it's okay. It's okay. I wouldn't, you know, bang on about it being the most amazing thing on the planet. You know, I can see the appeal with the Austin. I think a lot of the people that like certain aspects of TNA and certain aspects of Tough Enough, it's what you want or what you enjoy from wrestling, and some of those things I've never really taken a shine to. I like the kind of the comedy stuff more so. So although parts of Tough Enough appeal to me, not all of it does. Not all of it.
Yeah, I've actually, and you probably would have guessed it, that I've kind of figured that out, in the sense that I tend to now go for the comedy and the comedic angles and things like that, because I think overall we kind of enjoy them, and you can kind of laugh and be entertained, and it's not all too serious at all.
But that's not to say as well that's always the case. I think you will recognise a decent match, and you will, you know, put guys over, or certainly we will if you know, if they impress for whatever reason. You know, it's just we've seen it all a squazillion and one time. So if anything, the most important thing I think to take from it these days, from me and maybe from Darren too, is the comedy stuff, as you said.
That's it. I enjoy it, and I know for a fact that if they kind of went serious again, I'd probably be complaining about that. And maybe we always are complaining about something, but I know that if we're going to complain about anything, then it's got to be bad storylines, and I don't think at the moment it's overall bad. I think in general what they've put on TV wise is kind of passable entertainment, really. It's not so much that I don't like it or anything like that, but yeah, I'm enjoying it a lot more. Now, I believe we have Sonic with us on Skype. Hello Sonic, how are you? How are you keeping? Good, I'm glad to hear from you. Now, because I think last week we missed having a chat with you. How have you been these past few weeks, Sonic?
I'm pretty much at peace. Missing last week's show.
Not a worry. I mean, we did start a bit earlier. Now, we're talking so much tonight. It's a lot of talk. I want to give you the chance to say what you want to say. Of course, we didn't hear from you last week, but what's been on your mind? What are your thoughts on the product at the moment? Anything in particular?
Yes, there's quite a few things on Tough Enough. So looking forward to the finale. I don't know if I'm going to be able to catch it or or not tomorrow night tough enough? Because tomorrow night is tomorrow is the start of E3.
Oh, right. This is the gaming conference, right?
Is the gaming expo.
Are you going to attend it?
No, I'm going to look at the press conference, look at Microsoft's press conference on TV, all the others online.
Sounds good. Sounds like a good one.
Yeah, it should be fun. We're just working on your audio here, Sonic, but we will try and keep you heard on the speakers. So yeah, actually, I'm looking forward to that game show as well, because there's several games announced. Have you heard about this WWE 12?
It's about time they
Yeah.
moved away from that format. Do you agree with that?
I want to see how it plays out from.
Yeah,
I
how?
want to see how it plays out when moving away from the SmackDown versus Raw format.
That's right. They've a lot to do to keep it fresh, don't
They do, yeah. But it's definitely welcomed. It's about time. I thought they would have done it last year, but wasn't to be the case. Although sometimes when they do stray, you know yourself with some of this stuff, it's for the worse. Not to mention any games in particular, but you know, it has been done.
So what are the changes in this one? Because I did see some screenshots, and as always, they keep upgrading the graphics, and it looks spectacular year on year. You actually feel like you're watching WWE TV now.
It's not as cartoonish as All Stars.
Yeah. Did you get All Stars, by the way?
No, but I seen someone on Justin.tv play it.
Yeah, I have to say I watched some of that myself with
Quite
interest.
fun. It's quite fun. I got the demo of it, and yeah, it's funny stuff. It's a bit out there, but yeah, it's good. It's good fun.
The last wrestling game I played was the second Rumble Roses.
Oh,
What's it?
Rumble Roses, is it? The that's is that a PS3?
360.
360. See, that's, you have a 360, don't you?
Mhm.
I don't actually have a 360. I've been more of a PC gamer, I think, but I've always been tempted for the wrestling games. Have you played SmackDown versus Raw in the past?
I played wrestling games in the past, but SmackDown vs. Raw wasn't one of them.
Yeah, of course. Everybody loved that Japanese game. I'm not. I can't remember.
Fire Pro.
Fire Pro. That's the one. You were a man for that, were you?
Yeah. I didn't play that either.
Yeah, yeah. Well, look, WWE 12 looks exciting. Now, I was kind of trying to figure out what are the changes, and I think there was a couple of new modes. They always add something, but I think overall they're giving you more control to create the superstar.
That's
and
cool.
I know they've always had that, but of course we could do a good job of creating our own cause, if you like. And of course we've often talked about having gaming on here live. But talking about Capitol Punishment, now the only match so far is Cena versus R-Truth.
It looks solid. Thinking it's going to look solid.
There's a lot to play around with, I suppose, with the name and the location. You know, I don't know if what they're telling us with the VIPs is a work or whatever, but you know, it's stuff that they can run with, I suppose, time and place and the name and stuff. I don't know how solid the card's going to be, like you say. Do you think that the whole pay-per-view will be solid, or just strictly this match for the title?
See what plays out.
What
Let's see
other?
what else.
Yeah, I was going to say, as you're going, what other matches do you think could be on there?
Yeah. think I seen possibility another showdown between Christian and Orton.
Yeah, we're looking at that. Do you think Sheamus is going to be added to the mix? Or is that a one-off? I'm not certain. But I think if we're going to have Sheamus, then we're going to have a quality triple threat for a pay-per-view. We'll give Sonic a quick dial back. We always have some issues with the audio. But without a doubt, we'll do our best to keep you on here tonight, and as always, reconnecting. I think the old internet connection these days is pushed to the brink.
That's right.
Pushing up the stream, Skyping, the video, at times it can be tricky. Don't worry, Skype cannot connect to our webcam. We don't need it to. So we could do with it as a microphone. I think that's all we use it for these days. So I think we got Sonic back. So we were talking about Capitol Punishment, and as we wait now for Sonic to get to us on video. So you mentioned Christian v Orton. Do you think at this point it's going to be Orton retaining once again?
I mean, it could go either way.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah, definitely. And of course Raw as well was interesting. Lots of different topics. Now we want to talk about Karma. Karma officially gone from TV. Are you disappointed about that?
Very.
Yeah, it sucks. I wonder who's responsible for this.
I was looking for her to dominate, only to have those hopes killed.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. A year isn't a long time, though. You know, although I mean,
It looks like it's going to be worth the wait.
this is it. I think they should go heavy on the heel side as opposed to babyface. What do you think when she comes back?
She's coming back as a face.
You reckon? My hopes were crushed.
Coming back as a face. Now that I was sort of surprised really that I didn't notice that actually she was coming out to Brie Bella. Now she was squashing, in a sense, other babyface divas, but ultimately she probably was babyface and intended to be that way. Do you think that would have been wise? Now she came from Awesome Kong and that kind of intense heel thing. Can she get over as a babyface in WWE?
That's if she can pull it off.
Yeah, she's got a lot to prove in there. And again, coming from TNA, you've got so much to prove. Christian, he's climbed that long ladder and he's ended up where he is. Other thoughts then? Now, unfortunately we haven't got much to say about Capitol Punishment because it is such early days for it.
I was going to ask.
I'm going to ask you guys, are you looking forward to Slammiversary?
I was just going to bring up TNA. Actually, I loved Impact this week. I thought it was probably the best of all the week's shows, if not one of the best Impacts in quite some time. Slammiversary, I think I might actually make the effort to watch that one. You excited?
Yeah, I am.
Some good matches on the card, actually.
Yeah, the product is getting the turnaround since the show's name change.
I agree. Yeah.
I agree with you. Impact to me was a huge change, and it is just a change of colour. But what a difference it's made, hasn't it? It's turned the show around completely, Sonic.
It's doing that now, and when they I was going to go with this.
Sorry.
Going to say was I explained a lot in my column on the Sidewalk Slam. If you don't know if you read the column or not.
Sure.
And tell us.
It's my mid-year review on the product.
Do you think it's come far in this past year? Well, 6 months or so of the year, because last year was all Hogan Bischoff. Now, what have they done this year for you to differentiate from last year? What's been different apart from just that name change?
When I talk on the column, when I type on the column, I was like, well, majority of the mainstays like AJ Styles and Kurt Angle and Jeff Jarrett and Samoa Joe.
Mm-hmm.
Is about the company's going to turn around, and it's proven over and over to be the alternative to WWE.
I suppose so. The only alternative, if you like.
I thought about this with the whole Impact Wrestling thing. I think as a whole, it does differentiate between what they kind of were trying to do, but still they're in that Impact zone no matter what way you look at it. I always believe that if they had the history that a WCW had, was more established and had been around for a while, they could, compete on a decent level with the WWE now. I don't think they will ever be able to do that, no matter what the circumstances are going forward. It is and has gotten a lot better. The writing's got better. The angles are better. The talent is strong, very strong at the moment, as opposed to 6 months ago, where the main...
and it's a lot of people saying it's like the final days of WCW there.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it was definitely going down that street 6 months ago, but now that I think it's been solid, very, very, very solid the last couple of weeks. It'd be interesting to see if they can make it grow.
After Sting return and after Jeff Hardy going away for some time, after being voted by PWI, but being the most overrated wrestler of 2010.
It was it Sting, or was it Hardy or Sting you're talking about?
It was Jeff Hardy.
Oh, Jeff Hardy, right. Well, yeah, I certainly would agree some bit with that.
Absolutely, and with that, Sonic, we must say goodnight to you. We hope to speak to you again. Thanks for calling.
Welcome.
Talk to you soon.
Have a good
Thanks
week.
to Sonic, and always nice to have people joining us on Skype. Of course, we can put us on screen, yourselves on screen, everybody on screen, 2 and 3 different cameras and stuff like that. We need about 4 or 5 cameras. Every angle covered for the laugh, but that's I suppose what we'll have to think about doing. Of course, you can always catch those videos in the archive on justin.tv/wrestledope, and there you will of course find that file every week. So as soon as we're finished broadcasting, you'll find it in the archive, and also on youtube.com/thewrestledope. Looking forward as well to that huge announcement, that major announcement for next week. Every announcement needs to be built up. I mean, TNA do it.
They do. They've done it more than enough times. God, I am genuinely happy that will I go on spoiler territory, although it was only this past week's
Why
one,
not?
TNA. It's been shown already, so it's not spoiler really, only for you that you haven't seen that one. But
I don't mind.
yeah, it's Foley. I'm glad to see that they've, that he's done, basically.
Yeah.
I know they've worked it as an angle, and I know that it's legit. He wants out. I don't think he's going to make any difference, nor has he. I don't think he's the kind of guy you need around there. He's just stale, very, very stale for me. So having him out of the picture is only a good thing, and I'm glad, and it's very welcomed that he's going to be potentially leaving the company very, very soon. If WWE take him back in any capacity, so be it. They might get some good stuff out of him potentially. Who knows? Either way, I'm not too concerned. But yeah, Impact Wrestling, I'm liking it. I'm liking it. This week's one was solid, very, very well put together. Matches, promos, everything, fantastic. Very, very, very well written.
I wish I could be with you on there every week and talking about it. I haven't been as dedicated. I came back for Impact. Maybe I need to catch 2 out of 4 weeks, build it up from there. The pay-per-views just take so much time.
They're tough.
Now, in here, you'll remember this name, Fire Soul 86. Does
I
that
do.
ring a bell?
I do.
That name, I always am saying, this guy was here at the very beginning.
Back.
The very beginning. Fire Soul 86, I believe, was the first mod.
Wow.
I think ever. Now I know it's a couple of months, but whatever. But you know what I'm saying? This guy.
You're still doing this.
He-
We're still here.
Yeah, we are still doing this. Of course, I'd say the last time you were in, we were sitting in front of the posters and that famous Cena poster burning angle. I know you were there in the beginning. What happened to you? I mean, I know you maybe around Justin, but look, definitely come back here and Skype us as well, because actually someone from back in those days, Amazing Davey, who I know listens on the podcast every week, he joined us on Skype and it was a good moment. And actually, we want Davey to come back. He didn't get a chance
How
to.
about getting Fire Soul on Skype? That would be kind of cool if he's one of the original TNA guys.
Yeah, I'd absolutely say that. I'd like to see Fire Soul.
As far as
on.
the poster, we never did actually burn it. It was all a work.
That's right, yeah. Just looking at some of those names joining us in the room. As I said, I don't know how long we've been going on, but we'll keep going for a bit anyway. It'll be a long one on YouTube this week. Fire Soul 86 kind of gave up on wrestling for a while, just getting back into it again. Well, listen, if you're back
wrong with
into
that?
it, come in here. Come in here when you think of us on Sunday nights, 4 Eastern, 1 Pacific, 9 GMT, and it would be nice to have you back. Maybe even Tom Courage from back. See, what happens is people come, they listen for a while, they get bored and they move off.
Yeah.
But
No, that's fair enough. Yeah, I'll probably do the same thing.
a point I was trying to get to a little while ago, again, we've talked so much wrestling now, we're entitled to a little bit of off-topic, but I know I always hate the off-topic stuff in wrestling podcasts, but look, what can we do? A lot of these Justin shows, and I've said it before, well set up shows, very, very established shows, actually shows that, at times, they really are high quality. Shows like this, guys in front of green screen, live they get maybe 60 to 70 viewers.
Nice.
Now that is after 5 years of doing stuff online. The amount of internet viewers, it's a different kettle of fish. It's a different thing altogether live. You'd be happy to get who we've had in here tonight, listening to us live. The biggest podcasts in the world really don't get as many as you think they do.
Well, that's fair. As long as people watch it on the archives, like I say earlier.
I think we just like shooting here.
Yeah.
I think we better find out how long we've been on for. I think we're approaching the 2-hour mark now, and indeed, of course, we have this recorded all live, and indeed the old Skype is open. Now, Fire Soul, I caught the Raw where R-Truth turned heel and just started watching again since. Never thought R-Truth would be the reason I started watching again. It shows you, doesn't
That's
it?
hilarious. Just goes to show what they can do with, or what guys have in them, that you thought you would never see, like we say earlier. Who knew that he had that inside of him, or at least he could pull it off so well, and more importantly. It just goes to show. It goes to show again what people want to see. I don't know what age bracket you're in, Fire Soul, or how long you've been watching, or what excites you about the product. But either way, for something like that to get you watching, it does say a lot, I think.
Sharpshooter or Truth has been excellent lately, and like I say, I'm back on it in terms of seeing what he's got, and I've done it usually a bit earlier in my case because it takes me a while to actually process what's gone on. Usually I just see wrestling in this big usually I watch it maybe the two shows back to back. It kind of all bleeds into one. But I did want to mention as well, someone talked about the background here, and somebody was mentioning that it says Extreme Rules a few days away, but that it's actually the Raw set. But I think this was Raw. This was taken at Raw.
This was it must have been yeah.
Great stuff, and I mean, it really to have those backdrops, it just it means we're not sitting in front of green bin liners, but that's something we did for a while. There is still some green here. Before I go away tonight, will I tear out the old WCW thing? I'll have to do that.
Yeah, I think we should.
We'll have to do that. We'll read out the WCW 1993 program. We'll show you some of those pictures, however well they come out. We might as well, because I know it's just there.
It's funny stuff.
It is. The names are the funniest.
Van Hammer.
Van Hammer.
What a classic.
Van Hammer actually was on, I think it's onewrestling.com. This is another show that you'll see on bradyhicks.com, dbradyhicks.com. And One Wrestling were talking to Van Hammer.
Wow.
Van Hammer was at a convention.
Still alive.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
He wrestled a great match at that house show.
What does he do these days? Is he still rocking?
I didn't concentrate past the first 30 seconds. But I was just like, wow, Van Hammer is on a video. Matty P&O, I do miss the green bin liners. Now, I know you said that. And as well as a classic posters night, a classic bin liner night.
I'd love to do a posters show again.
Yeah. We should do a posters one, yeah, definitely.
Posters and garden show.
Absolutely, because posters / garden, we'll do it all in one. We'll burn Cena as well, we'll do the whole lot. Filibuster, I used to collect all the mags back in the day. We did ourselves, actually. In fact, the magazines, if you go back a bit on the YouTube, they were half the backdrop.
They were, yeah, in fairness.
WWE magazine,
PWI.
Yes, sorry, WWF magazine, wouldn't it have been? Filibuster, Van Hammer was never able to capture the audience past 30 seconds. Don't feel bad. Matty P&O1, America's version of Handy Andy should be a DIY man with a name like Van Hammer. So it's great to have all of you guys in here tonight, and indeed always appreciating. No, I think Captain Charisma is not with us.
I just noticed that a while back. He seems to have, unless he's fallen asleep or something.
Absolutely, Captain Charisma leaving us early tonight, but always good to have him in.
He's got stuff on, who knows.
Absolutely, we have been banging on. We have been yakking on.
We've been yakking on big time. You know what I like the idea of doing, actually, and I should have consulted you on this one before I went ahead and did it, but it's nothing really too topical, is as well as our Superstar of the Week, I'm going to do video of the week. Put over a little video of the week in the wrestling bracket, of course, but one, I don't know if I sent you this one, but I thought it was very, very funny, and it is, now here's another thing that I recognise about this whole deal. Steve Schultz, is that his name? Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah.
Was he?
Dr. Det.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I found this 3-part thing on YouTube where it was on a guy called the Morton Downey Jr. show. And you'll find it out on YouTube if you want a good laugh. And basically, did I send you that one?
I don't think you did.
But 3 parts, and you see him, Captain Lou, and a couple of other jabroni guys on this Morton Downey Jr. show at the time, protecting the business in a kayfabe manner, where this other jabroni is exposing it and saying that it's all a work, and I worked in the business for whatever amount of years and my matches are pre-planned, but the boys are having none of it, and it's just hilarious stuff. But if you go to YouTube, it's definitely worth watching. I don't know how long it is in total, 3 parts, but wrestling and Morton Downey Jr. will probably return the results. Very, 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 very funny. Very funny.
Actually, Phil mentioning Dr. D. David Schultz, an easy one to make. I wouldn't have known that myself. I would have known him as Dr. Det, really. But you're right. And Morton Downey was at WrestleMania 5 on Piper's Pit. Fire Soul 86, great to see you back in there, the smoking guy. We've actually, I believe, again, you see, I have a memory here. I know, if I'm not wrong, Fire Soul is from Scotland as well. So maybe we've got a few from Scotland. Indeed, Mac Attack as well. We're the old UK Ireland following. We didn't have many from UK and Ireland in the live room, but I think now some people are coming in, so it's nice. Let's move aside and show YouTube viewers the Justin.tv. I've just realised I can put that up there, but the old comment box, that's the live channel here on YouTube. I'm waiting to see it relayed on the channel, but this is what we're on. So this is what you will see us on every Sunday.
I think it looks kind of nice.
Yeah, and of course we can put stuff there. This all goes out live now. It's not the stuff that's done on YouTube or whatever. It's all, as I say, no green bin liners anymore. But that is the live chat room, and we're going to try and maybe get that chat on screen to where you can actually read it as well. And then all of those comments will be used. Filibuster, when he called out Cena, talking about that Piper promo. You remember that one they all raved about? I think it was just before the big pay-per-view.
Oh, yeah.
It's a few weeks back now, but we're now up to 20 to 12 our time. So that last chance, if anybody would, I know each week, you might have stuff to say every week, but if you want to, Skype's always open, and that's why it's there. That's why we spent so much time that we actually did to set the thing up, but it's there anyway, and without a doubt it's nice to get those other opinions. But other than that, I think this is about
topics,
it. That's about it for the week. We've gotten through most of it, I think.
There's nothing else really I can think of.
AJ Lee, check.
AJ Lee for sure, yeah.
Unbelievable,
yeah.
Definitely.
Actually, what else? Now that you just mentioned it, that comes back to mind. Christ, Angelina Love and Winter, they are doing a seriously good job, the two of them. Real serious props to both of those two. Fantastic stuff.
Serious props to them. Angelina Love, Velvet Sky. Velvet Sky, I loved it when she went babyface, and we got, we got a kind of a different take on her, 'cause she felt like she had been stuck in the Beautiful People for way too long, and I think that is the problem, unfortunately, when someone hangs around for that long. Now, of course, like I say, we're just running out of time there now. We're just gonna, let's see if we can pick up a last Skyper here. Now, I think next week is I suppose we'll have to talk about next week. I will not actually be here, so of course,
situation.
So we will see what goes on, but we'll try and keep you posted.
Okay. We'll
have a chat about it. We'll
that.
let you know. But either way, we'll try and have something on for you. But one way or the other, the big thing next week is big.
Well,
Hello, Phil.
How was it?
Hey Phil, how are you?
How are things with you? It's been a few weeks. I think the last time we spoke with you was on the Macho Man Randy Savage tribute. Again, to say this to you on air, but your impersonation, some of the stuff you were saying, I had that freak out in my mind all week, and it was your one,
My apologies.
No, you did a great job. You made that whole segment, that video was terrific. Very much appreciated. Great stuff.
Yeah, it was.
Not a problem. For once, I'm using my powers for the purposes of good, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, Savage was a great topic, and I think we all could have gone on for hours on end, just literally talking about the guy and memories. But I suppose we, have to move onwards and upwards, and unfortunately, the stories are not as big. This week's Raw, this week's SmackDown, and of course, Capitol Punishment as well. R-Truth now being spearheaded, put into that main event. What are your thoughts on that?
I like what they're doing with the character. I think that it's a good start for him. I don't know if his character per se is going to have much legs, but I like what he's doing, and I hope what it does is if he can get over or slightly over, it'll kind of take the reins off a little bit to let the guys go out, because it seems as if he's been given some free rein to just go out, and I've seen some of the commenters before and just say some ghetto stuff and go out and just kind of have some fun and not truly shooting, but not having the same scripted garbage. It's fresher than a lot of the stuff we've seen in a long time.
Very true. I quite like it, actually. I think he's doing a great job, to be honest. It's just, I'm sure it was a little bit tough for him to transition so smoothly, and he's kind of nailed it, bar the first week, like I say, when it was a little bit all over the shop timing-wise. But overall, very, very good.
And I think the fact that, like you say, the first week I was watching it going, all right, where is this leading? Like, it was almost painful at first, and so to see it actually look like they have a little bit of a plan, it's starting to give me a little bit more confidence in other angles as well. So maybe the Christian, the Orton thing we said before, maybe just for once kind of step back a little bit and see if they do have a plan for it, see where they want to go with it. And I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt for a couple weeks until they screw it up, but hopefully they don't.
What are your thoughts in past months and years regarding R-Truth? Were you previously kind of in any way down on the guy? Because I would have said I would be. I mean, I would never have put
everybody
him over.
was.
What did you think of him before all of this?
I remember when he first came in, and I thought he was just a Booker T knockoff. Now, maybe you guys can remind me, did he come in before or after the merger? Because I think it might have been just before. I know that he was teamed up with the Road Dogg, and it almost might have been like they were trying to rip that off. And then when Booker T came in, he became redundant.
I'm trying to remember. I do remember him and Road Dogg on Sunday night. Was it Heat or something like that? And they're doing their hippity hopping. Couldn't tell you what year it was. My guess would be after the merger, like you say.
I think it was Matty Piano here saying it's roughly late 2000. I think it was. It's so long ago the Twin Towers might have still been standing. I don't mean Akeem and the Boss Man. So
it was. I mean, looking at Wiki here, it says more or less he was signed to 2-year developmental in 1999 and assigned to Memphis Championship Wrestling. So that was obviously a farm territory then. And on April 12th, he won a Battle Royale. So he went on then, did stuff there. So let's see if we can get the actual date. November 13, 2000, Raw's War, attacking William Regal, as you said, during a match against Road Dogg, actually.
There you go, yeah.
So it's...
I don't know. I thought during the entire lead up and over the past couple of years, it was almost, I'm a bald white guy, and I almost found it right racist. Let's just bring in this black dude and settle him with a rap gimmick because we can't think of anything else. Like,
it does happen.
Like I said, he's starting to prove it to me. He's entertaining, if nothing else. I don't know if it's conventional or that marketable. And I also hope that what doesn't happen is, because the pay-per-view buy rates aren't going to be strong on this one. We know both because of the matches, with that as the main event, and also because of this time of the year. Most people are starting to go on vacation. So the ratings probably, the buys won't be strong on it. I hope they don't throw that in his lap.
Yeah.
It's so kind of they're and the last pay-per-view too. I mean, it looks like they're finally starting to kind of throw some of the stuff at the wall, see what happens. Hopefully some people take the ball and run with it. I hope they don't just again lose confidence or with their mentality, the hot shot booking, just pull the plug on it too quick.
Your thoughts then on Alex Riley?
I think, and during the commentary during the last pay-per-view there, and it was even just thinking on the fly, I had not even paid any mind to him when I suggested, isn't it the next logical step for him to feud with The Miz? I think he's got potential. He could be the next breakout star. Only problem is I think he got off to a slow start with that interview against Cole, and it's maybe it's like the crowd wants it, but they're already trying to protect him. He didn't say anything.
That's a good point. That's a very good point.
He got into the ring this week with Cole, and of course that leads us to Michael Cole, who I wondered how are they going to transition the guy out of heel and go back to babyface? Did you feel that kind of turn this week where he was kind of on the polite side of things, but then of course he did also do that interview with Riley?
Cole, I think, is just it could be the next evolution of his character. I don't know if they are going to try and transition him back. The only thing is I still don't know. They still haven't really committed to him as a heel, and that he'll flip-flop. So he's become more heelish over time, but I don't think it's been real strong heat that he's drawing as much as I think people are just kind of annoyed with him getting so much. You don't want to call it FaceTime because it's just voice time, but if the whole ambition is just to turn him into a heel announcer, couldn't they have done it in another way?
Yeah, I suppose I agree. I think it was kind of like let's maybe get the 6 months in the Mania match, and yeah, I suppose maybe it was never meant to be the full forever turn, and they always planned to go back, seemingly anyway. But I suppose speculating on what they could have done, I would say I know it's always a tough question, but what would you maybe have done? I know that's the hardest thing to ask. Like, what would you have done? But
with the Cole character,
yeah.
I for the longest time, and I think the only thing that's stopping me from believing it now is I don't think they actually even have someone in mind, is I thought he was going to be the Raw GM.
I think we all thought that.
Yeah. No, that must be where they're going with it. Maybe they still are. I don't know. But that is likely where I would have gone.
You know, I think the whole thing is really you're going to have to keep him somewhat like he was to fill those spaces. If he was to continue on strongly on the heel side of things, like he was interrupting those Divas matches and going absolutely bonkers for the most part on every show, and the coal mine stuff, and being in the ring and being such a big part of the show, that it would lose what he was there for in the first place and why they actually, I think, still really need him. He does fill a lot of those quiet moments and talks, like you said, keeps you listening to what's going on, even when things are at a serious lull, be it a pay-per-view or be it a taping or whatever. He definitely needs to stay in that role no matter what the circumstances are. So maybe it's just hard for them to, like we said earlier on, transition him back to where he was, but still keep him heavily on the kind of taking the heat side from beat the crowd, or that kind of side of things.
Of course, this week as well, onto Karma, who made that promo in the ring, and to me I was very surprised that they allowed her to kind of almost put a sob story out there. And I mean, I kind of expected her to be the unstoppable monster forever. I would have thought just remove her from TV, don't say anything. You don't. I know it's been going on for weeks, but do you really need to explain it? Just use that same device, put her back in the exact same way when she's ready. Would you agree with that, or do you think this promo was well done?
I thought they had to give some sort of explanation. I was thinking about it from another perspective, and I mean, obviously not knowing what the real story is. I'm going to guess this was an oopsie pregnancy, because I would think that if this is your lifelong dream and you're this close to making it, you wouldn't plan a pregnancy at this kind of time. Yeah. I'm surprised by them giving her the time and to go that route. I figured they'd be angry.
Yeah,
it looks like they did have plans for it, whatever they might have been, and on a level they were going to make her. It looks like a leveled character, like you say. We all assumed she was a heel, but if you were watching, when she would come in and attack, she was attacking largely heels, and then wouldn't destroy everyone. So I mean, they were building some layers there. But for this to come along again, I mean, I don't know. I wonder what the talk is within Titan Towers and if she's on the on the shit list or not. But
she certainly wasn't on the pill anyway, that's for sure.
Yeah. She said in the promo, you never thought you would see this. People told me you wouldn't see me on WWE TV. That JR himself said that she was not going to be on there. So yeah, it was just weird to me that they kind of gave her this. It's almost like a fan moment. I mean, guys who, it took Christian how many years to get that kind of speech where, look, I tried this forever.
that's true.
I mean, she was just given that. So I think they were crushed by this.
I think they felt a responsibility to explain the situation because they brought her in with the vignettes and they brought her in strong, and if it was Trips that was behind it, like they say he's heavily involved with the Sin Cara push and her push, I'm sure he would be the one that they would probably he would probably take somebody if not, he would be frowned upon or sneered upon from the locker room boys for how quickly the whole thing that dissolved in front of his eyes. Really, I blame the guy, whoever got her up the duff. I mean, obviously he's a bit of a donkey to jeopardize her career. I could make a bad one here and say a bit of a Donkey Kong, but that's a step too far. But either way, what an idiot. I mean, he's just completely destroyed probably the best run she's ever going to have.
I really hope it's not an angle, and I really hope it's not to bookend, and it's not another pregnancy angle with Mark Henry and a rubber hand.
Yeah, it's true, and that's exactly what they can do if they want to. But yeah, I hadn't even gone there, but it's true. They can certainly decide that. I want to go completely random here, but Nunzio, what the hell happened?
He must have pictures of somebody. Hard to say. I mean, think about it though. I'm surprised that they've never run an angle where they've always had issues with refereeing, and that's what wrestling's all about. I've always thought that they should bring in somebody, and the perfect character, what they could have done when they brought Stone Cold back years ago as the sheriff, is to actually make them the head of officiating. Who better than to not take crap and to call it down the line than someone who can actually take a punch, than actually a wrestler. You know that these guys are going to try and take advantage. Why don't they bring in those guys? Or I don't know if you guys watch the National Football League, bring in Ed Hockley's, the guy who thinks he's a pro wrestler, as a referee in the NFL, or something along those lines. I've always thought they should go along that way, and because otherwise, who do they decide are referees anyway? I don't think there's an actual referee school, is there?
Exactly. And it's been said nobody is in these schools to teach referees.
Just like managers, it's just one of those things. One thing we never covered tonight, and I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on this. But a lot of people speculating on Shaq, and now that he's out of his situation with the NBA, that it might be a wise move for Vince to sign him. You think that would be a good move?
Yeah, the charisma is undoubtable. The athleticism, even though him not making it back sank my team's hopes of making it to the finals this year. But I guess he did technically retire as a Celtic. If you could get him on board, even as a special attraction here and there, I think it'd be a great move. I think he'd surprise you. I think with his level of athleticism, he'd be pretty interesting. Be a good draw.
I think, like you say, if you can see that potential in Big Zeke,
I can.
Would be a good match for Shaq to get his ass behind him.
The team of Zeke and Shaq. You never know.
Shaq Zeke.
Well, Shaq could come in there. Am I wrong in saying that was he a champion before? Shaq was heavily involved in WCW. Am I right? Or?
They were all involved.
He made appearances.
Rodman,
he never wrestled.
Rodman, yeah.
They played off of. I think he might have been friends with Hogan. I remember specifically the first Bash of the Beach, and I think it's because it was in Orlando when he was when Shaq was still with the Magic. They had him as kind of the ringside guy to hand over the belt when Hogan came in and destroyed Flair in his first match in the company.
And so, I think wasn't he a guest host as well at some point?
Yeah, I think he's a big fan of the sports entertainment.
Yeah, he had a guest hosting appearance on Raw, and don't forget he knows Shaq Fu.
Yeah, of course. He could come in there, I was thinking, as really couldn't he be a top baby face? I mean, he'd be over.
He would be hugely over.
Imagine the vignettes. Yeah.
It'd be crazy.
You could do anything, you know.
I wonder would he work?
Yeah, would he have a good work rate? I suppose people get away with it, don't they?
That's true, yeah.
You know.
Well, I doubt that, considering he didn't even have that on the basketball court. But that's not why people paid to see him. So
Fair enough. Listen, Phil, we're approaching the top of the hour here, and we're going to say goodnight to you again on that note. Indeed, thank you indeed for calling us tonight.
Good to have you on.
not a problem, gents. Talk to you soon.
And talk to you soon.
Take care.
That's Phil, and that's where we will wrap it up for another night here on Wrestle Dope. And great to have the Skype callers. So like I say, if you're checking us out next week, we'll figure it out, but either way I won't be around. So what we might do is we'll discuss that, and we will let you know on twitter.com/WrestleDope, or if you subscribe to YouTube, the bulletin, if we have you on Skype, we'll IM you just like last time. Anyone we have here, we'll try and get into contact with you either way.
The Facebook,
Yeah.
all the usual suspects. Just keep an eye out for what's going to happen next week.
And the thing is, whether or not, as you're saying, like whether or not it's whatever way, there'll be something big on YouTube next week. So do try and catch that. If it slips a few days, either way, we've got something great coming, a major announcement, and that's coming soon. So thanks to everyone for joining us. Let's just round up here now by talking some of the comments. The main event who's joined us, and I know we've probably missed some of you who've come on here tonight. Matty P&O Filibuster is a cool dude, always interesting to hear when he comes on. Ricky DX liked this call so far, and Ricky, by all means, if you want to have a chat with us, add us for Skype calls. The user is WrestleDope. Matty P&O, Shaq versus Big Show Mania 28.
It's probably what's going to happen realistically, isn't it?
A big attraction match.
The big man match.
Absolutely, Matty as well. Mania would be a good time to do it, being in Miami. Filibuster, do you want him to slam? Filibuster says Shaq Diesel versus Big Daddy Cool Diesel. And Diesel, of course. Of course, here we go. That's another hour.
It's open to some crazy ass stuff.
Absolutely. Finally,
I hear Nash is doing the new Legends of the Round Table.
oh right, the WWE.
Yeah, they're bringing
Oh,
it back,
brilliant! Excellent.
So
Excellent.
that should be quite interesting.
Do they still smoke on that?
Hayes probably does.
Yeah. I think at some point they called time and said stop smoking, because you had JR with cigars and they all had cigarettes. Dusty Rhodes. I mean, it was unbelievable. I hadn't seen smoking on TV like that ever. You know.
They can get away with it.
Yeah, definitely. So everyone, thank you again for being here tonight. And so many familiar names week on week, of course. Let's just finally go through those names. Wrestle Dope, the moderator, ourselves, Mac Attack as well. Hopefully we'll hear from you at some point the next week or two. Get your thoughts on Capitol Punishment. Sonic and Xbox Miker. We had Bike, Crisp, Drifter, Dubstar, Firestole making his return, Fugazi. If people like Firesoul came back, we would build up.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But
It would be great to have all the original peeps.
definitely Fugazi. Maybe we just need to unban everyone in that banned list, whether they're called HD Sports, whatever they're called. But of course, props to Fugazi.
Great name.
Fugazi won. IDO, Maddie, NB Sox, Phil, and Ricky Sharpshooters, and the main event as well. So that's it from us. This video up on youtube.com/TheWrestleDope in a couple of hours, and keep with our Twitter or YouTube, and also check the Justin channel. We'll put an update in the chat and on the status about what that major announcement is. Expect to hear that soonish.
It's going to be fun. This one's going to be fun. I think for any fans of old school, you'll enjoy it.
Absolutely. So I will just say goodbye. Not all in caps. I don't want to do that. As the runtime, do you ever think when we're talking this stuff, the runtime on YouTube up?
Absolutely.
This thing is going to be 3 hours. But anyway, bye for now. And now it's caps again. I'm literally, I can't actually type here at all, but I'm just going to say bye for now. Speak to you soon. And indeed, that's us saying goodnight to the Justin.tv live viewers, and indeed to yourselves on YouTube, and also good night, good evening, whatever time it is, for all those iTunes
It's
podcast
good morning for us.
listeners. Indeed. That's it for us tonight.
Take
From
it
me,
easy.
Goodbye.
See ya, folks.
See you later.